Hello, hello. Welcome to another live stream with me, 320 Simpilot. I hope you're all doing very well. Today we're taking an exciting look at the new ToLiss A320 Neo. So I'm going to need to make sure I get that right and don't say A321 or anything for the whole stream, but there we go. It is their new upcoming aircraft. It's not quite released yet. This is a preview beta build, so it's still a work in progress. But today they've been very kind to send it over and let me stream it for you all. So if you're interested in it, you can get an idea of what it's all about. If you haven't seen the ToLiss aircraft before, it's actually where I started this channel with the ToLiss A321. They already had an A319 out, both of which had a reputation for being very good simulations of the Airbus. They really capture all the Airbus-y things in a really good way. They're particularly good at the handling. They're also very good at the systems and the failure simulations. I set up this camera very carefully. It keeps getting disrupted. Let's move out of the way of Austin's vegan food. There we go. Yeah, so today it's a preview of their latest and greatest Airbus. They've also released since, of course, the A340-600. So I'm using X-Plane 12 for today, which is still in, as you all know, preview versions as well. So if we may experience some instability today, because at the end of the day we are using a preview build of an aircraft in a preview simulator. I say preview, you know, a beta of a simulator. So it's potential for things to unravel a little bit. But we have a good fun flight today. It's a sort of northern winter European operation flight from Gdansk up to Norway, Kristiansand. We are in the A320 Neo livery because that's all there is available right now, aside from the ToLiss default livery. I quite like this Neo livery. But yeah, we're going to fly under the Manta call sign. We'll be 331. We'll pretend that this one just hasn't got round to being painted yet. We got it second-hand, cheap off Airbus after they tested it into pieces, and then yeah, we took it off their hands. So here it is. It's lovely to look at, and as you'd expect from ToLiss, they've got the proportions and the shapes and the silhouette just right. So this is their first 320 that we've seen, because of course Flight Factor had a 320 out for X-Plane 11. So ToLiss did the 19 and the 21, and now we get to see the 20. But yeah, it's got new features inside of it, which is really nice to see, and a better visual model than we've seen in the previous aircraft. My summary, if you're interested, and I'm thinking about it more and more as we go along. So far, it's definitely the best ToLiss aircraft so far. It looks a lot better than the previous visual models. The systems are the same, very good, although it does have some nice added sort of bits of detail that I've always wanted the ToLiss to have, and we'll see those as we go through. If you're already familiar with ToLiss products, then you'll know what you're in for, but if you're not, see what you think as you go through. It's really nice to see X-Plane 12 now getting the mature aircraft properly supported, you know. So this is a nice model. But first of all, jumping into the chat on YouTube, I'm going to say hello. So thank you all for joining us. I can see Toby, J-Dog, hope you're doing well. Mateo, Chewy, thanks for coming along and moderating along with Captain Wazza. Captain Wazza says, very interested to see what our captain thinks of this 320 Neo edition. Yeah, so this is the only other 320 Neo we've seen is, of course, the fly-by-wire one, which is very good, although not as mature in the sense that it, you know, features are still having to be developed for that. But they've done a fantastic job. Daniel B, good to see you. Washing the trumpet, very good. I hope you're doing well. Aeropilot, good to have you here as well. Lucas says, hey Cap, it's been almost a year since I caught a stream. Last work change and starting a business has been something. You're still the best there ever was. Literally miss you, but I'm here today. Thanks, Lucas. Thanks for joining us. And yeah, great to hear you're having success in work, and good luck with the business. But thanks for joining us today. It's good to have you. For 64, hello to you, Quaizo. I hope you're doing well. First time catching the stream. Excellent. Thanks for joining us. Andy H1302, thanks for coming along to moderate as well. That's Serious Pilot. Good to see you. Serious Pilot says, oh no, something else I need to buy. Yeah, see how you feel. Kelpie, hello to you. Giuseppe Gaming, good to see you as well. Giuseppe says something I don't need to buy. Yeah, so as always with these preview streams and videos, it's entirely for you to see what it's all about, see what you think. Piano Leonard says, hi Captain, wonder if Brianni still watches the streams. They were here for most of the early ones. I hope they're okay. Yeah, I haven't heard from Brianni for a little while. I hope they're okay. Wild One More, good to see you. Thanks for coming along to moderate. And we've also got Simdeck, Chris Patton. I hope you're all doing well. Simdeck from North Wales. Excellent, thanks for coming along. Lloyd, Air Knowledge, so many names. I do apologise. C14, Simo, Ryan, Hayden, J. Robbins. Good to see you, Hayden. I hope you're doing very well. Great to have you here as well. Over on to Twitch. We're also streaming live on Twitch. You can follow us there. Kelpie, good to see you. Kelpie says hello. Love the second podcast episode. Yeah, we have a second podcast episode out now. So if you'd like to listen to the 320 Sim Pilot podcast, which is called From Flight Level 320, then that is available on Spotify. Just search 320 Sim Pilot or From Flight Level 320. That's where it will always be uploaded first. I do put the video versions up later, but my intention is for it to just be a podcast. I don't know how many people are listening on YouTube. The first episode got quite a lot, but I'm hoping most people from that first episode went over to follow on Spotify, rather than watching them all on YouTube. But we shall see. Anyway, so thanks for joining us there. We got Bunker, I hope you're doing well. When's the official release? I can tell you that. Official release, 20th of March 2023. So it's not far away now. It is about, what's that, just over a week away. Dave Guyman, I hope you're well. Megabytes. And Nighttime, hope you're doing well. It's good to see you all. Flight Dispatch 320, good to see you. Flight Dispatch says, well done on the second podcast. Keep them coming. Thanks so much. Glad you enjoyed it. So second podcast is just, more of me and Barney chatting about various things. But I enjoyed it a lot. So I'm having good fun with the podcast so far. So look forward to more of that. Giuseppe says, I'll experience it through you, Captain. Thanks. Brianni is here. There we go. Look, Brianni Silver. I'm here. Brianni is our resident expert scuba diver, living the dream out in, previously out in the Caribbean, but yeah. Giuseppe says, those clouds, please point the camera down. Yeah, so X-Plane's been going through various evolutions, and let me just make sure I'm getting both the chats. There we go. But yeah, great to see you, Brianni. Thanks for coming along. This current version, we're getting much better lighting. The clouds are softening. The problem we are having still is these sort of artifact clouds. Lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of little bits that don't quite look like they're meant to be there. But, we have seen some very good examples of the clouds. So I'm hoping they can keep working on that. But we shall see. Good. So I am on VATSIM. After a little bit of a crisis just before the stream where nothing was working on VATSIM. I can see we've probably got some people flying along with us. We've also got another Manta over here, Manta 999. I'm guessing that's James in the Muzandi group. I don't know what this is, Astra Airlines. So yeah, that's the new one because I don't have a livery or a Manta livery for this available. Viper, hello to you. Thanks for coming along. But yeah, that's the plan for today. Like I say, about 1.5 hour flight. Now I can see you're probably getting some stuttering there. That should go away once you're on the flight deck. So before we actually let's keep a seat outside for a moment. So ToLiss exterior, it's very good, as you'd imagine. It is not in terms of visual fidelity, it is not the most detailed visual model I've ever seen in my life. However, it is it's the best from ToLiss. It's a very good visual model. It really encapsulates, like I say, what the Airbus looks like. And in X-Plane 12, it's been brought to life. Oh, for goodness sake, all these cars. How many are there? Oh, dear. What's all this traffic? There are no aircraft. And we got, there's a Ferrari. I see it. But it does feel very alive, at least. So what we've got is, let's zoom out. Let's get a bit closer. There we go. You've got the better materials and textures now, so we're getting reflections on the wings and so on that really should have been there. And X-Plane 11 tended to be missing. Dean, I hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining us. We've got it's definitely better visual model all round because of those textures and details, and things like the APU flap do work, the outflow valve does work, and as you go, like I say, the silhouette's sort of perfect, nice texturing. You've got some grime coming out the rudder joints and so on, which is all pretty spot on for what you'd expect. As we come around, you will start to notice, some things are relatively basic, only by the standard of what we've seen available now. This is the Pratt & Whitney Neo engine, and as you can see, sort of this panel is just, you can see it's a decal. Someone's slewing across there. Which is fine and serviceable, but, as like I say, if you're here for the visual model alone, it's probably not going to satisfy you. However, look at the engine. Fan blades, the reflections, the shape, they've really got it right. And this is, again, the thing with ToLiss is they really seem to understand the Airbus and what makes it. Every proportion is just absolutely spot on. There's no angle where this doesn't look perfectly like a 320. I can't ever look at it or the silhouette of it and think it doesn't look spot on. And there are some other add-ons that occasionally do. Strangely enough, the landing gear continues to be excellently modelled. They've got every hydraulic line in the right place. And in a weird way, because the gear is so good, it slightly detracts from the rest of the model, because it shows up. For example, these should stick out slightly on the real aircraft. These little, I don't know what they do, but they're connected to the fuel pumps. But yeah, and then you look up here and you see this sort of line, and you go, it's a shame. When you compare some of the joints and so on around here to the landing gear, which is always so spot on. Inlet valves for the packed, which does work. The ram air turbine, which does also work, but again, not modelled properly. This is a texture, but it actually has a slight bulge here on the rear aircraft. But yeah, this is way too close to be looking at it, is the reality. If you just look around it in general, it's spot on for the shape of the Airbus. But yeah, angle of attack sensors missing. Got the statics there, antennas. Disappointed to see that they haven't modelled the inlet and outflow valve yet. They do have, the inlet and outflow for the avionics cooling. But yeah, still better than X-Plane 11. Absolutely, absolutely. Do we get a LEAP Pratt & Whitney option? We do indeed. I'll show you that shortly. Got the pitos, and that sort of thing. It's all here. So like I say, look at that. I've spent a lot of time looking at Airbuses, as you can imagine, and this looks perfect. Every angle, really, really nice. The angle there on the sharklet going out, spot on. So, like I say, just don't do what I'm doing here and go super wide angle, super close, and there's nothing to complain about. And like I say, the nose gear, again, remarkably good. They've really done a good job with the gear. The thing with the ToLiss is, it's all about the systems and the actual flying. So, the ram air turbine does work. The hydraulics do behave correctly. When you drop the gear at high speed, in this one in particular, I don't think it was so true in the 321, or certainly in X-Plane 11. But now, you drop the gear at high speed and it's this deafening roar, just like on the real aircraft, until the doors close up again. Things like that. Really, really nice. Here's a bit more of a view of the engine. Nice exhaust, by the way. They did capture that really well, and the shape. It's all spot on in proportions. But what we can do, show you the new ISCS. So this is being changed around a little bit. Frankly, to me, it felt pretty similar, but I imagine it's scalable now, which to some people is more useful. I don't fully understand what that means, but I'm just using it as it loads up. However, we can go to the aircraft option and select the LEAP. And look at that, just like that, we have the LEAP with the Kiwi ToLiss logo instead of the actual LEAP logo. I wonder if there's a copyright on that. I don't know. But yeah, this is... Don't the stragglers kind of look too big, says Yusuf? No, I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say so offhand. I think it looks great. Yeah. Q8 Pilot says, the textures are still being worked on according to ToLiss. It is not very good on the outside, yes, but it will be improved with the final release, I suppose. There you go. And that's the important thing. Thanks very much for coming, Q8 Pilot. Good to see you here. And yeah, that's the important thing with the whole of this add-on is it's not finished yet. But like I say, nitpicking the textures on the ToLiss was never really what it was all about. I'm just showing you because I don't want anyone to think I haven't. Like I say, they're good, but I wouldn't sort of have much to say on their own. Except I know this is a very good add-on because I know the aircraft is super underneath it all. But yeah, here's the the LEAP engine, which you can just swap in. Also, they've done a fantastic job with this one, this metallic cone. Again, looks a bit better with the sun, but you can see the exhaust and the oil and so on. All very nice. And if we show you the fan, the key feature of these Neos. Sorry about the camera work, but I've tried several different versions, and this is the best movement I can get up with. So there we go, nice chrome leading edge on the Neo engine, and they look great. Also, the sound design has been vastly improved. Like I say, that gear coming down at high speed makes a racket, and you'll hear the engines. They sound really, really nice. I actually prefer the sound of the Pratt & Whitney, so that's what we're going to go with today. I do think the LEAPs look a tiny bit better. Would this be backwards compatible with X-Plane 11? Yes. I don't know if it would look as good, but my understanding is, and I hope I'm getting this right from ToLiss, is that this will be compatible with 12 and 11. They keep two versions supported, so they no longer support X-Plane 10, but 12 and 11 they do support. So there you go. Yeah, and as we go around, as I say, all very nice, present and correct, good shapes, and I think one of the better, like I say, silhouettes for a 320 Neo. I mean, no surprise there. Like I say, ToLiss have always managed these things, but it's definitely, even though even with my comments on the textures there, like I say, some parts I think aren't as good as other parts, but even with those, and like I say, work in progress, it's definitely the best ToLiss. It still looks really good, and once you get the sun in it like this, here we go. X-Plane, by the way, you're doing much better with the lighting. Definitely, look at that, the way the sun sort of heats up as it gets out of a cloud. Really nice. Yeah, this is a really, really nice model to look at from any angle. And the only time you're going to notice those textures is if you do what I just did, which you're not really going to do. Maybe the first time you open it up. Look at that shape at the back where the fuselage sort of flattens out for the tailplane. Yeah, it's just great. Really nice. What else can I show you at this point? Yeah, we can obviously do all the loading and so on, which you can do from SimBrief. And then ground services. So still no visual models of the high pressure or low pressure air or external power, but we do get visual models of the chocks and the baggage loaders, which is what I've got going at the moment. And look at this, the icing. So we're going to use the icing on the way out. We'll pretend we've arrived at some ice. Same old fault scenarios, which is all very good. And then it's all the usual sort of settings here. Nothing that I particularly think I need to show you right now. Yeah, we've got autosave on. And this is, again, what the ToLiss is all about. It's such a good simulation in that sense, because you can save so many things and do it over and over. Now, let's jump into the flight deck while the sun's in the right place. And now, hopefully, you can see this is an improvement. The visual model is better, and their best one yet. It looks great. But this is significantly better than the previous ToLiss aircraft. I know that the old versions of X-Plane didn't quite show off what the developers did as well as it could have done. But this really looks so much nicer than it did. All the colouring, all the textures on the panels, the grime and so on, and you can see the sort of wear on this panel here. If I move the camera closer in, and you can see, yeah, it's nice. Again, we've seen some incredible flight decks now, especially in Microsoft Flight Simulator. And this is not as visually the lighting and texturing and so on is not up to the same levels in some areas, but that doesn't mean it doesn't look good, and I think it does look good. And crucially, ToLiss have now added the tray tables, which has been a long time requested from all of us, I think. So yeah, they've gone a little bit further. You can open the window as well now, and the sounds do work, and there's that ratcheted clank, and then you can unlock it to close it again. So that's all very nice to see these little extra details coming along. I don't think... Oh, yeah, oxygen mask still works. That's good. Cold temperature corrections necessary today? Oh, we'll have a look. I'm not actually sure. I haven't looked at the temperature here. Yeah, so there are some bugs. This auto-land light shouldn't be sort of... It's not lit. It's just the wrong texture there. There's another one, which is this emergency cancel should be red. But yeah, there's, like I say, work in progress. They're still accepting feedback, and they've been very good. They're asking for the feedback, so they are very... very open to that. And we know ToLiss continually work on their products. The ToLiss aircraft have been some of the most updated for free payware that I've used. They're very good. So I have no doubt that they'll correct these things. I couldn't tell, was the new landing lights available as an option? Now, yes, it is. Multifunction runway lights. So if I say yes, what does that involve? I don't actually know what these are. Oh, there they are. So look, see, this is where ToLiss excels. They really put the effort in. I don't know what those are, by the way. Bus switches, yes, we'll talk about that once we get it going. You can turn it off. You still have the bus, because all the Neos will have the bus, whether or not they have the switch. Then I've just got this to auto. Nav and the go around. Well, yes, all aircraft now would have that on. Talked about that in previous videos. DG27 says, look great, sir. Thanks very much, DG. I hope you're doing well. Thanks for coming along. DG's been around on the channel for a long time. For Prawn says, cup holder looks good too. Yeah, the cup holder does look good. I hope you're doing very well indeed. Right. Let me just see if there's anything else in the chat so far. Let's just see. I'm not here to suggest, by the way, that this is better or worse or what you should get. It's just your choice. You know, if you want an A320 Neo for X-Plane 12, here it is. And I think it's a great version of it. Great version of it. Which simulator is better is, again, personal preference. There are lots of people that like both. I like both. It's that simple. I use both. But yeah, Captain was it should be compatible with X-Plane 11 from my understanding. I have driven the A320 Neo Gen C indeed. So I have done that indeed. And yes, there's no paint kit out there right now. So this is the only livery we've got. That is a good colour for a Ferrari. Yes, please, more of that. Excellent, excellent. Right, I don't think that aeroplane next door would actually be there in real life at the moment, but there we go. What is the config for the landing pitch in the 319? I don't know what the landing pitch is, but on approach, it would be sort of 2.5 degrees, something like that, 3 degrees. What else did I want to show you in here? By the way, obviously, lots of improvements. Seats looking good. Everything looks great in here. Like I say, you can get nitpicky if you look too closely. Sometimes you can look at the textures on, I don't know, the throttles or the side stick. And yes, we have seen better. But I've got to say, no longer do you look at this and go, doesn't look that great. It still looks great. Yeah, in fact, it's such an improvement. I can't stress that. Like the lighting on these panels. Now, onto my bugbear. X-Plane 12 needs to sort out its flight deck lighting. I don't understand. I thought they fixed it. I thought things had improved. And then earlier today when I was testing this out, I got in that zone again where nothing's lit up in the flight deck and it's just pitch black. And I don't understand where this is coming from. I really hope they get that sorted. Moving on to the cabin, by the way, you won't find much you hadn't expected in here. It's all very good. I can't remember, to be honest, the ToLiss previous cabins, whether they contain more or less than this, but I think they're it's pretty much standard. It is the Airbus cabin, so this is the classic overhead lockers that you recognise in Airbus, the classic overhead sort of control panels, slightly different. They haven't got the buttons modelled, but that would be quite a lot of texturing or modelling, but there we go. And I've got a couple of wing views ready for us, so that's our forward view, that's our rear view. Yeah, so it's probably time we get this thing powered up. So let me just grab my checklist and have it ready to go. Talk amongst yourselves. My apologies. Great. Any significant handling feel differences between CO and Neo? Yes. And it's mainly in the sort of the spooled up time of the engines, the way they fly on approach, the way they flare, and the way they rotate. Those are different. Once it's in the air, no, not really. Not really. The EFB is painfully small, says Lucas. Fair point. Yeah, so this is the Avitab EFB. Very functional. It is quite small. You can, of course, with Avitab, just bring it up and put it to whatever size you fancy, and it all transfers across, so it's quite good at that. Anything else? Anything else? Is it CEO as well as Neo? No, it's only a Neo. That is definitely the case. Gavin is pretty much the same as 1921. Exactly, it is indeed. The Laura says they could have put in more modern drop-down bins and overhead panels that are getting more common today. They could have done, but there's plenty of Neos out there like this, so I'm not going to complain. Now, I've heard that there is some talk of the fit not being up to sort of a Neo standard. Now, one of those would be this weather radar. This is an old style radar. You don't see this anymore. I sort of don't mind because I don't find the radar in any of the sims to be particularly good, i.e. even if they put the panel for the WXR, the 400 now, which is the good one, even if they put that in, I'm really not going to use it much in the sim. Transponder as well. It's an older style panel. They're still out there. You could probably find a Neo with these older panels fitted somewhere. But yeah, I'm curious. I haven't run into these things myself. The more important bits are things like the bus switch and so on, which we'll talk about once we get going. But, you know, fair enough, fair enough. Anyway, let's get it powered up. So, off norm, weather radar is off, landing gear lever down, wiper selectors off. Put the batteries checked, very good voltage, go to auto. So, I knew this question would come up a lot. Yukiko says, as someone who has only tried different versions of Microsoft Flight Sim, is X-Plane better or is it down to personal preference? Better aircraft? Both of those things, external power on. You've got to decide for yourself what you're looking for in a sim. Really, for me, it's down to the aeroplanes. And it's easy for me to say that because I learned X-Plane and then I got Microsoft Flight Sim, so I know how to use X-Plane. If you're going to invest in X-Plane and learn it all, you know, that's a big thing to do. And whether that's a good idea or not is going to be how much you think you're going to use it, I suppose. All good, DG. I hope you're doing very well as well. Can you swap the location of side stick and throttle on ToLiss? You can swap your default seat position in the ISCS, yes. So this is, again, where ToLiss excels, is this sort of stuff. So if you want to default to the other side, Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? There is a setting for it. Look at this. Setting up the detents is the easiest thing in the world. Same for the brakes. Same for the faults. You can add them. Enable random faults. We'll have that on. But I won't do 100 because I've done that before and it's a bit exciting. Yeah, and then you can have triggers for different failures. And there is an option here somewhere to swap the seat to the right-hand seat. Oh, where is it? Co-pilot seat. There you go. I'm not going to mess with that now, but yeah, there you go. And you can have the cold start external power on. But I actually turned it off just before the stream started. Good. So external power on, and we'll get the AP up and running now. What's the temperature of the cabin? Oh, cold air coming in though. Soon get cold. That's coming on. ADAs go to nav earlier these days. Good stuff. Then we can also check we have oil, hydraulics, oxygen. 2 oxygen bottles on the Neo, which they've modelled correctly. Only 1 on the older aircraft. So that's loads. That's almost 4 times as much oxygen as you'd have in the older Airbus aircraft, quite typically. Thanks for all those new follows. Appreciate it. Aviation, hello to you. Let me just check that my switch is working. You cannot remove the shark list? No, this is a Neo only. That is definitely the case for this one. Yeah, so that's good. And also landing gear. This does work, by the way. Gravity gear extension is locked away. Ah, we got the cooling time. Now that's because we got the old Pratt and Whitneys. I don't understand this very well, so we shall see how it goes. Good. Right. Let's go to our flow. Oh, you can now use the scroll wheel for these, which is quite handy, I must admit. Auto nav lights on. So I don't think the switches up here have changed much, considering those lights. What do they say? Landing lights on, off. Runway turn off, on, off. No. So these are all the same. So as far as I can tell, those new lights we got outside are just going to be a similar sort of operation. Won't do the electrical check, but we could do. You got your engine fire tests. It doesn't work when I do that, sadly. But yeah, engine fire tests, AP fire tests. Well, we wouldn't do that now. We've already done that. There we go. Good stuff. I'm not using any camera plugin for X-Plane 12. Captain Wazza says, is the interaction with the scroll now rather than clicking through the switch as per 346? So it's scroll wheel, but you can't drag them like in the 340. You can click on them, or you can scroll wheel them. I know you can't see what I'm doing, but yeah, that's the options now. Click, scroll. Good. So, let me think. What else? Is there anything else I need to show you right now? I don't think so. This is all, by the way, instantly compatible with my Thrustmaster TCA. Same controls as I had for the other ToLiss aircraft. No surprise there. And as you see, I say, when the light's in the right position, which it is right now, this cockpit does look really nice. Really nice. I just wish X-Plane would sort out its lighting. For graphics, it's still going to be Microsoft Flight Simulator JJ Stevens. But you'll see that this is getting to be very nice. Very nice. And it loads in about 2 minutes instead of 20, which is also very nice. Good. You can pop out the MTDU. There it is. And let's do our init request. I did tell it my username. Flying Dylan, indeed. Table is modelled. Let's leave it out. If anyone's wondering and joins us now. Mateo says, can all the switches on the ATP now be pulled and illuminated correctly? Intim PA. Let's have a look. It lights. It doesn't pop out. It should pop a little bit. But they can all be done. Yep. Pretty good. Although that should be int, not mech, indeed. Oh no, sorry, there it is. Yeah, int. Good. So yeah, so that does work, which is nice. Can't press that though. We certainly don't want the marker. Invalid flight plan uplink. Okay, so that hasn't worked. No matter. We're going from Echo Papa Golf Delta to Echo November Charlie November. We're going to be the MXZ331. Contact quite high. Got a strong headwind today, 31, and we're cruising at flight level 380. Neos tend to be able to go up higher, sort of straight away. November Golf Mike for the alternates. It's aligning automatically where we want it. That's good. And wind. Will it be able to load the wind? It has done some sort of a job on that. That's good. So that's init A. There's init A. Flight plan. Expecting to depart runway 29 today. The Viz L1 Hotel. And we can just grab our route from here. That's the alternate. Excuse me. What have I done? There it is. Vizan, then to Zerpa. Then Givar. Lima 983 from Givar. Which will take us to Row. And then Lima 621 to Amsev. Insert. Good. And that's going to be the arrival. I'll just stick it in for now. And then we'll see. That expects 21. So RS21. Amsev 7 Mike. Oh, I'll put in one of those. We'll figure that out on the way. Good. So that's the flight plan done. Thanks for those follows. Really appreciate it. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you enjoyed this stream. Good. Right, so IRS is still aligning. That is the route diff secondary copy. RadNav, I'm going to leave alone. Oh, what was that? Ah, deselect, yes. Ah, interesting. Good. Well, we're not going to use that now, but yeah, these are some modern features. Again, ToLiss, like I say, not what they're doing. I should probably put that down a bit. Init B time. Loading. And I need a 0 fuel weight of 63.5. So let's load it up. That's a lot of cargo. We won't take that much cargo. Let's do 62.7. Good. And then he actually changed the CG like that. It's quite good. And then I'm going to apply that. Block fuel. 6.3 tons required. So I'll go with 7 tons. Refueled. Let me just write that down. So that gives us 62.8 tons with a 0 fuel HCG of 26.9. Flying in, it says, for dual cooling, the procedure is the following. Push button on, engine mode select to start, engine master to on, wait for the cooling to be done, then engine will spool up. But I think the engine will automatically cool, and I think that's the right procedure because that way it's going to do both engines when you put it to ignition, I think. We shall see. I'm going to try that out. Flying in, it says, you'll get to hear the infamous PW howl, like on the EJ-A2 and A320. Indeed, and it makes a really nice noise. That's why I'm going to fly it today. The aerial aviator says your SimReef ID wasn't entered. See, I keep entering it and saving it, but it doesn't seem to work. It doesn't seem to save it between sessions. So yeah, I think you're right there. James Atkinson, good to see you. James says, completed circuits for the first time in my lessons last week, and land is complete. Been sent off to do air law and medical for my first solo. Frightening. Fantastic. Enjoy those. It's an exciting time. You're going to have great fun there. Sorry, I just punched the microphone by accident there. Are the colours on the autopilot displays correct? Yep. Yep. There's slightly different shades of blue, no surprise, you get all sorts of versions. So let's put this in. 0 fuel weight, very heavy today, 62.8, 26.9. Block 7. Especially a bit of fuel for de-icing today, we're going to do engines running. 200 kilos, 3.2 tons, extra 1.4, fantastic. Init B, and finally then, performance. So, probably flap 1 with the active flight plan. Don't need to use toga, not contaminated runway out there. So runway 29 with no shift, flaps to 1. I keep saying 2, ridiculous. And we've got a flex 73. Now, that's interesting to me, but I think that's coming from the Pratt & Whitney's. Yeah, it must be different temperatures. And 148, 149. 151. 221 clean. Good stuff. I don't think we have any controller here. Let me just check that. Oh, we do have a controller. There's a Gdansk tower. Excellent. Let's just grab the ATIS then. So the ATIS is information alpha. That's where there'll be the different runway, isn't it? RS29. QNH 1008. And just an F180. Good, so let's set that QNH, which I've got synchronized to all sides. Sensible about 400 feet. Runway 29, so let's go back to our chart. Oh, excuse me. Straight ahead, max 220 knots. I don't think we're going via that point because we're going to go straight ahead. So yeah, we don't have that speed limit. And off to Visan. So that's all good. We'll get our stop altitude, I'm guessing, from air traffic control shortly. Doesn't seem to include on here. Visan, yep, straight ahead, no speed limit, just above 3.3. No problem there. Yeah, in terms of the flex, so with 73 degrees, so Lauren V says, does seem a high flex, but it seemed pretty light. The Airbus on a long runway, flap 1, will flex almost to the maximum in most situations. It's only if you start getting tailwind, shorter runways, more flaps, that it might start reducing that. So it doesn't surprise me that it's so high, I suppose, but it's just a bit of an odd number. But they all have different limits on where they should go. Josh says, we'd love to see you do a flight to Tenerife South at some point, going there on holiday this summer. So I'd love to know how it's done. Yeah, we could do that. We have been to Tenerife at some point. Good, so we'll clear that out. That's done. Thrust reduction is at, yeah, so 1,500 feet above the runway. No problem there. Pretty soon we should just grab our clearance then. Constraints. Set in at random altitude here till we have that clearance. Seatbelt signs can go on. Let's get the ground crew away. So we're on, APU's available. APU bleed. Get rid of external power. Hopefully, I don't know if you can hear. I'm hoping you can hear. No sound. Okay, let me turn up the audio. I just don't want it to be too loud when we go outside. I wonder if these are animated. I think they are. Certainly the valve at the back is. No, the outflow valve here is animated. There we go. It does look great. Really nice. Sorry about the sim. My sim is actually running relatively smoothly. I'm not noticing a particular performance hit using the ToLiss A320 Neo. You're getting stuttering because the frame rate is actually too high. It's a nuisance problem I've got with X-Plane at the moment. I need to limit the frame rate, and I forgot all about that. We've lost all sound. Oh. Is there sound on YouTube? It is sound on YouTube. Yeah. Okay. Anything was going to sound? Good news. Right, what's going on with Twitch then? Let me just refresh Twitch. I don't know how to fix Twitch at the moment. Let me just have a quick look. If I can think of anything immediately. Unusual. YouTube is normally the problem one. It's back to normal on YouTube. Okay. A couple of breaks in transmission on YouTube went blank and no sound briefly. Strange. Sorry about that. I don't know what's caused that. We've had a few good luck streams and this one's yeah, it's finally catching up with us. Anyway, whilst we wait, I'm going to close up the cargo doors as well. We can actually put them in auto. I think they close up when we do that. There we go. Yellow pump running, so we know the baggage handlers are now closing those doors. There they go. There we go. Yellow pump running, so we know the baggage handlers are now closing those doors. Ah, we're going to get an echo now for a second, but I can hear Twitch's back doing that high-speed scrubbing it does. Ah, we're going to get an echo now for a second, but I can hear Twitch's back doing that. Okay, I think it's working. Sorry everyone. Twitch is now saying it's good. The Holic 320 now. Okay, well fingers crossed Twitch catches up. Does tend to. Good, let's talk to air traffic control and grab our clearance. 118.1. We're on standard 11, I think.
Gdansk control, good afternoon. Sorry about that. Manta 99 requesting BFR to Kristiansand, please. Over.
-1 outside. Pretty cold.
Stand by 1.
Gdansk, good evening. Manta 331, stand 11, A320 Neo, QNH 1008. Request clearance, Kristiansand.
331, Tower, good evening. Information Bravo, clear to Kristiansand. Flight on route visa 1, hotel departure of runway 29, squawk 4537.
Cleared to Kristiansand, Vision 1 Hotel, departure runway 29, squawk 4537, Manta 331.
331, correct.
Okay, squawk 4537. I'm going to set it to above.
Clear for takeoff 29, then over to Unicom. Thank you for
This
the
is
service.
runway 29.
Easy 2307.
I don't think we got a stop altitude there.
That's scan there, UN 44, stand 22, ready for push and start.
Maybe we'll get that once we're underway. A lot of airports do that. Yeah, we've only gone above 3.3, so we shall wait to see what they say. So we're closed up. Let's get the tug.
Good evening,
Ground to cockpit, please show me where you want to go. Ground to cockpit, tow is driving up.
Yes, ready.
Yeah, if you're on Twitch, please refresh and it should work for you now.
Manta 99, apologies, I missed
Critic says
the arrival there, but
other
I got
colours
4502
right.
squawk, over.
I think they are, yes. You do get slight variations in the shade of blue. I've got no problem with that. It might not be what they all look like, and if you go and search pictures you might see different versions, but I wouldn't be surprised to see one that looked like this, no.
SID by the 1 hotel, Manta 99, thank you.
Manta 331, request push start, stand 11.
Correct.
Oops. Manta 331, request push start, stand 11.
Okay, all doors and hatches are closed, ready to connect.
Sorry, can you say again for Manta 331?
Manta 331, push and start approved, QNH 1008.
Push start approved, QNH 1008, Manta 331. Good stuff, right. It's busy here in Gdansk. Let's get rid of the tray table, and we're going to say copy prep completed, gear pins removed, signs are on and auto, ADs are in nav, fuel quantity we've got 7 tons, or just under, and it is balanced, all in the right place. Takeoff data is set, and we have got BARF QNH 1008. We've got windows, doors closed.
We can, sorry, do you want us to push back past stand 22, easy 32 November X-ray?
Flight door is.
I want you to stop it before that.
Oh, let's see if we can get this to work. Where do we have to click? There we
we
go.
can stop before
Flight door is closed.
easy 32 November X-ray.
Beacon is on. Mobile phones off. Thrust levers idle. Parking brake is set. Now we're push start approved. We're going for runway 29.
Ground to cockpit, please show me where you want to go.
I'm going to think it'll be something like that.
Easy 32 November X-ray. Apologies, facing east, easy 32
Ooh, we won't give it a direction, but I'm going to guess east.
So connected and bypass pin inserted. Release parking brake.
Right. Brakes released. Start the clock. Away we go. He says. Oh, classic. I have a suspicion. Shots in the way. Always no problem.
And you may start engines.
Right. I'm going to ditch rain off now. We are going to de-ice on the way out, and I'm going to request that. I better tell them now, actually. Normally they would know, but yeah. Good starting up engine 2, as we're going to de-ice. So let's try this out. So both sides need 30 seconds of cooling. So let's do dual cooling.
Thank you.
Dual cooling not available, dual cooling off. Okay, so let's turn it off. So if I just turn it on, so that can't be the right order. So let's try mode switch to ignition, dual cooling, and now I'm going to start number 2. And I think it's going to spin both of them. Yes, it is. So both of the start valves have opened. Right, and it says your man's a 331, not 321. Oh yes, yeah, I'm going to get that wrong a few times. And now they should both just gently spin round. And there it is. It works. Just trying to get the balance between the desktop sound, so you let me know how it goes. Loads of us flying along again today, which is always great fun. Thank you all for coming along. And now we're getting cooling on the left. Okay. The right is accelerating. And there's the fuel and ignition. Good stuff. There's the clank. Should see available any seconds. Available. Starting engine 1.
Operation complete. Set parking brake.
Brakes are set.
Disconnecting tow. Stand by.
Yeah, just hearing that howl. And there it is, available. Norm. Don't need the bleed, don't need the APU. Arm the spoilers. Recenter the trim. Flaps 1. And we'll set our CG. 27.4. So a little bit head nose heavy this time. There we go. There goes the tug. There's the hand signal. Good, I'll start to check this anti-ice. Not required. We're just going to pretend we got some frost on the wings in the -1 left over from the previous flight. ECAM status is checked. No messages. Pitch trim, we've got 27. Trim 2. And of course, with de-icing today, flaps should go to 0 for de-icing. You leave them at 0. You don't want to move them with the ice if it's going to restrict it. When it's just frost that's formed, it's unlikely. It's not going to affect the flaps really, but it could be a problem. Well, we don't de-ice with the flaps out, put it that way. We always de-ice with them in. It's just that simple, I suppose. Right, let's see.
Yeah, confirm Airbus A320 in front is in sight. ED32 November X-ray. November X-ray, taxi to holding point runway 29 there and follow mentioned traffic. The taxi holding point 29, follow the traffic. Easy 32 November X-ray.
Manta 331, request taxi for de-icing.
5 for de-icing.
Manta 331, request taxi for de-icing. This, I believe this will be available on XPlane 11. Now, we've messed up here. I should have been clear about this. So, let me show you. You have to tell ops or air traffic that you're going to de-ice before you push, really, so this doesn't happen. There's about 4 aircraft now who want to de-ice. Now, I happen to know that the de-icing is done over here in Gdansk. There are a few bays, but they'll only take 2 or 3 at a time, so they'd hold you on stand and then send you. It's a very slick and efficient process, so you just taxi in with engines running, they de-ice you, and then you carry on. But they would have needed to have known that before we all pushed. That's my fault. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us all trying to do that now. There's only going to be space for 2 of us at a time. But I am going to show you because I have the add-on. That's why we took extra fuel. And this sort of thing does happen. The best thing you can do, really, if you know you're going to have time, you could just do 1 engine. Nice, nice.
Taxi de-icing via Romeo and Alpha, Nordic 36 Tango.
Let's see what happens. We have to wait for that. A-firm, Manta 331.
Taxi to de-icing, and follow Boeing 737 Norwegian company in front of you on Romeo.
Follow the Norwegian 737 on Romeo for de-icing. Thank you, Manta 331. Right, let's see what these lights do. So that goes on, clear on the right, clear on the left, brakes released, let's go. 1 hour in, we haven't got off the ground, but that's not bad for a de-icing day. Now listen to the engines. Love it, love it. And we'll do a brake check. All good, bit aggressive.
So taxi to de-icing, behind Airbus A320, your company on Romeo.
I'm using the Bluebell CSL pack, which was the automatic one it downloaded actually. In the US we have massive de-icing pads, says Laura. Yeah, I mean this is a relatively small regional airport, so it's quite good that it's even got a pad at all actually. But yeah, a lot of places they're too small. Some airports don't really have it at all. We're just not ready for it. George's only just arrived, excellent. So we're on Romeo, Alpha is off to the right. Doesn't take long to de-ice. Like I say, places like Gdansk that get the cold weather tend to be better equipped and do it quicker. Viper says just use the hot exhaust from the preceding plate. It's specifically written not to do that. It's quite funny. So people have tried all these things over time and they have to tell us not to do it. So you can tell we're going to de-ice because we've got our flaps up. And there you go, look, so there's no lights on the nose gear. We're racing around a little bit. But we get the lights here, look at that. Yeah. Very nicely modelled. Even got the reflections on their sort of glass covers. Excellent. Heat exhaust, still the best in the industry. Now I'm not going to run through the full de-icing checklist, but I'll give you sort of the essence of what it involves. But what you can do is, like I say, if you think you're going to have to go and de-ice like this, you'd go on 1 engine because it obviously saves 50, halves the fuel burn. The only problem here is if you did that, when we come out of the de-icing bay, we haven't got enough time to start it up and warm it up before we get going. So that's why, if you know you're at the front of the queue, I'd probably just do 2. Sorry, my chat's way behind. George says that visual model looks awesome. It is good. And the engine, how I agree. Captain was, it is very good. Right, let's see. Hopefully they'll move forward enough. I'm not. Yeah, they're going to move forward, so we'll go behind them. This stuff's all very carefully coordinated. First officer complaining. Now I'm going to go slightly wider the line. So taxi light's not enough, we're just using the multifunction lights. There we go, slightly wide. We'll steal this bay here. Not sure where James might have to sit in a queue. So there'll be other sort of marshals and so on guiding you what you're going to do. It is common to be sort of this close to other aircraft, so they'll guide you. Stop here. Brakes are set. Get rid of the lights because we don't want to blind the ground crew about to de-ice us. And there's a few things you have to do for spraying, such as checking what you need and so on. But also what we're going to do is turn off the engine bleeds. We don't bother with the packs, we just turn the bleeds off. We do not want them. We don't want the APU bleed on either. So we need no air coming into the airplane. Very important. No bleed air at all. APU bleed off, engine bleeds off. And I can see that down here, that's all off. Next, we're going to press the ditching push button. What that does is it closes up the outflow valve at the back. Oh, there it goes. But it also closes up things like the avionics vents, which aren't modelled sadly, and the packs and so on. It's designed to stop any air getting into the aircraft if you needed to ditch on water. Sorry, any water. So what we can do now is...
Tower EZ32 November X-ray, I can turn on to the icing pattern
Oh, is it the
so I
icing?
can get out of the way of the Scandinavian if that's okay. EZ32 November X-ray, please take a little bit slower.
And here we go. Look at this. This is great. Haven't seen this for a while, or I've not had it in any of my personal sims. And there it goes. Now, the time it takes depends. Today, we're not sitting in any snow or precipitation, so there's no holdover time. That's the reason you have it out here, and this is going to be a whole video on its own. But it would actually, the ToLiss does tell you de-icing usable for, or valid for, whatever it says. It gives you the holdover time, effectively, which is how long you can sit on the ground in those conditions protected. Now, that isn't an overriding number. The pilots still have to know that the airplane is definitely free of contamination. But yeah, it takes an experienced crew, 2 trucks like this, just to wash off some ice that's fallen on top of the wings. Not long at all, under 10 minutes. But if you've got snow over the fuselage and so on, which is rare, but if it's been left overnight, then it can take significantly longer. Yeah. Oh yeah, dual cooling, we can turn that off. But yeah, so sometimes you'll be sitting there and you'll see this out your window, and that's just how it is. Original Godspeed says, how's it going? Where are you headed? We're heading off to Kristiansand. So now they've done the wings, they're going to go and do the tail, which is great. Very cool. Very cool to see. SAS is skipping the queue. And you do sometimes get this. You'll be sat there de-icing and you'll see other airplanes that don't need it. And it could be that they would just have the right conditions. And it's amazing how genuinely sometimes it's just the stands. One stand that was in the right part of the terminal was protected or didn't form it. Or if your stand's in the sun, like now we've got the sun on both our wings, you might avoid it. There's all sorts of things that can affect it. It's really quite amazing now they do the tail. So this is the most common sort of de-icing, wings and tail. It's often called where we get both main wings and the vertical stabilizer and the horizontal stabilizer all de-iced. You could also do the fuselage as well, like I say, and then there is underwing, which is very rare and a complete nuisance. You can't do underwing with the engines running. And there's fan blade de-icing, which you might need as well, which is basically called, they might call it all sorts of things, but it's something engineers typically have to do, or the special machine they've got for that. So we're almost ready now. Once they're done, there's actually a time limit before we can put the bleeds on. But the magic for us here is we can just get going because our engines are running. Like I say, if you need to start up the second engine now, you're a bit stuck because you have the APU running, but you can't turn on the APU bleed for 5 minutes. That's because the icing fluid is washing right now into the APU inlet. It's going to wash round the tail, and it's going to go into the inlet back here if the APU was on. Then that could potentially give us a sort of fumy smell or haze in the cabin, which we don't want. So we make sure we don't turn on for 5 minutes. So they're good. So anyway, the result is you have to wait 5 minutes before you can start the other engine. You'd just be in the way. It's much better to have the engines running in this case. So they're now on the way. The ground crew there would tell us airframes free of icing and what they've done and so on, and when they finished, and then we would wait our 1 minute, which doesn't take long, and then you would turn off the ditching button. Must be done first, otherwise you'll overpressure the airplane, pop everyone's ears and the safety valves, and then we can turn on our engine bleeds. You should really wait until that valve was fully open, but there we go. So that is us now ready to go. So then we're going to run through the after starts again. Do that, put the flaps out as we wanted originally. After start, anti-ice not required. ECAM status checked, pitch trim 27, rudder trim 0. Oh yeah, and then the before takeoff set the flaps in. So let's now get off the taxi pad. Manta 331, request taxi. Holding point 29 via Alpha, Manta 331. We'll take that as full length. Turn off, taxi, right side's clear, left side's clear, brakes released. Don't really want to use much power at all to get off the taxi bay, the de-icing pad, just because there's going to be people around and their little trucks. But we are quite heavy today, taking a bit of a thrust.
Behind the Airbus A320 Neo taxi runway.
Oh, I like these lights, they look very cool. I'm a fan of this. You also wouldn't do the flight control checks until you were de-iced, just in case there's ice on top of them. It does say do not move flight controls unless you know they're free of ice. So, the problem with that is, of course, when you turn on the airplane and turn the engines on, they power up and they move anyway. But things like the spoilers maybe don't, and the stabilizer wouldn't, because it would be at 0 anyway, so you might not want to move it until you know it's free of ice. Like I say, most cases in Europe, the de-icing is just washing off frost that's built up. But if you're doing the serious snow, then it's a bit different. Something else, we've got the flaps out now after our de-icing, but if it was snowing, I would leave them in until we're out at the holding point. Reasoning is, you're more protected, because of course we didn't de-ice all the flaps, and there's a difference between de-icing and anti-icing, but all we've done here is de-ice, as it were. Anti-icing has holdover times, and you're not as protected if you put the flaps out, because obviously we had to put the fluid on when they were retracted. It goes on and on, this list of complex things to do with the icing. It is a whole video on its own. Yukiko says, here they just de-ice right on the parking stand. Is that odd? No, that's not odd at all. That's very normal. A lot of places do that, but de-icing pads are very good. However, they use up more fuel because the engines are running. But if it was heavy snow, it will be really good to have the de-icing pad out by the runway, because it means your holdover time is valid for a lot longer. Let's do some flight controls. See if we can see the view for that. There you go. Actually, I haven't looked at this yet. Where was it looking? There you go. Just for the visual model. Pretty sure there's some more tubes and wires in there than we used to have. Thank you so much. Clear for takeoff runway 29 after takeoff 1228 and to 331. Thanks so much for your help. Bye bye. Right, flight controls. Put that on. Put that on. Launch back to max. Ignore the cabin. Takeoff config. Before takeoff checks. Flight controls checked. Brief flight instruments are checked. Briefing confirmed. Flaps, we've got config of 1+F agreed, which is what we wanted. 1 blue down there. FMS takeoff data. 48, 51, climb nav, 152, brake max, and we'll just stop at 6,000 then. Transponder is set. TARA, ECAM mode takeoff, no blue. Cabin is secured. Engine mode selected norm. TCAS TARA. Packs are on. Before takeoff checks complete. Now it's something you don't want to rush, because you don't want to take off without everything in the right place after de-icing. But this is an easy place for pressure to build up. What if tower says to you now, oh, you need to get on the runway because someone's on approach, otherwise you have to wait 5 minutes or 10 minutes because you've got several arriving aircraft. So you go, oh, we better get on the runway. But you haven't had the chance to properly check you've done the de-icing, you know. Ah, so these do have a different position, on and off, not, there's no, are they folding out now? No, they're not folding out, they're built in there. I see, that's the main difference then. Oh. Yeah, smoke off the brakes. Right, anyway, we are ready to go. So off we go to Kristiansand. There you go, 17 minutes. Start the clock. Half side stick. 50% M1. Away we go. Man, Flex 73. SAS runway. Now this continues to be a problem with the ToLiss Neos. I don't know why it's always complaining about the pitch trim, but I'm going to disregard that for now because I know that's not a problem. 80 to 100. Stick to neutral. It's going to be quite a long takeoff run today with the weight and speed we've got. D1 rotates. Now I'm just holding the pitch in exactly the right spot, and it pauses at 10 degrees and then picks up again. There's positive climb, gear up. Now it shouldn't do that. That is a perfect simulation of a CEO rotation. It's probably one of the best CEO rotations out there, if not the best. The way it hangs at 10 degrees is spot on. But the Neos don't do that. The Neos continuously pull through the 10 degrees just by holding the side seat. It's very notable and it's a very impressive piece of design by Airbus, how good that system is. So I hope they can sort that. I know it's been the same in the 321 Neo they did for X-Plane 11. So I really hope they can find a way around it. Alright, climb. Thrust levers back. Thrust climb. Climb. Auto thrust. Nose down a little bit. And here you go. Light goes pitch black because of X-Plane 11's... Sorry, X-Plane 12's lighting. I don't understand. Very frustrating. It's such a pretty flight deck. And, you know, straight away you can barely see it. Now, from here on out, it's all about the same as a 20 CEO. There's not much to say. Flap the S. Flap 0. Good sound on the ground spoilers. I suppose we can leave all these lights on. There's nothing sticking out. Just get rid of the nose gear stuff. But I don't even think that's sticking out. Or even away anymore. Flaps are in. Good stuff. After takeoff check is landing, get up. Flaps retracted. Packs are on. And it's down to the line. We are going to go to 1228. And we're going to climb up to flight level 380. We're going to set standards. Blue 380. Standard is on. Shouldn't be flashing because we're cleared above it now. And I'm so sorry, Dara Dermody, thank you for the $20 tip. Let me just play that again. How's everything going, by the way? Is all the stream running? Flight Sim is really impressed by the takeoff, landing, flight modelling of the 737 in X-Plane 12, says Hayden. Yeah. Yeah, the rotation there is such a good example of a CEO rotation. It's just not the same as the Neo ones. Wild One says, in ToLiss Neos, don't you have to put the THS value? Ah, that's right. Yeah, I didn't put the trim stabilizer into the perf page. That's why it gave us that. And ToLiss always seem to insist on it. Good spot. Sorry, my YouTube chat isn't coming through on time, so it's very delayed. So apologies for that. Rihad says, just in time for takeoff. Should have known. Indeed, indeed. Thanks, Dean. Thanks for coming along. Brianni says, what's for dinner? Yeah, I don't know yet. Probably pasta today. Probably pasta. James was capturing everyone. I'm so sorry I missed all the chat. It's a bit of a nuisance that the sim's not working. So yeah, it does have the new landing lights, Jaroslav. It does indeed. Janice says, are you able to de-ice even if aircraft are carrying cargo? Yes, you can. Granny says, what's for dinner? Number 1, 2. It's been a while, but always like, did you finish the exams? I know, I'm so sorry. Brianna is home. I have a video for you. You'll love it. Oh, excellent. Oh, I'm very jealous. I hope you had a great time out there. I'm sure you did. It's amazing. And I'm going to say, I'm going to just play Dara's tip again. So, Dara, thanks so much for the $20 tip. Far too generous. Really, really, really appreciate it. So sorry I missed it earlier. Busy time. Lots going on. But thank you for the $20 tip. Dara says, loving the podcast. Keep them up. I would indeed. I'm enjoying them as well. I'm glad you're enjoying them. If you haven't listened, like I say, search on Spotify from flight level 320 or 320 Sim Pilot and you should find it. But thank you so much, Dara, for the very kind tip, and I'm glad you're enjoying them. Really appreciate it. Right, entering some clouds. Engine anti-ice coming on. Yeah, still doesn't do any change there. Not that I can see anyway. Getting up above the clouds. Such an improvement over X-Plane 11. Really nice. I haven't got the flight factor A320 megabytes. I'm sorry. Now, I'm not getting any stuttering in my sim, but I can see you are. Ah, frustrating. I wonder if its frame rate must be too high. It's 44 in the flight deck. Shouldn't be too high. But these clouds here, you know, we know this isn't quite right. This layer is nice. This layer a little bit unrealistic. Megabytes, this could be output of your software, buddy. I get the same. Yeah, I get it when the frame rate's too high. Yeah. Giant says, why does a CEO have a retract option for the landing lights? What scenario would you want the lights to be extended but also off? So it's not just a CEO. Most Neos are like that as well. This fancy new lights are a very recent addition. There's lots of Neos with the old style lights. Why you'd have them out but off? Probably just for maintenance, things like replacing the bulb. That's all I can think of. Because you're right, I can't. Otherwise, we just turn them on and off. We don't use them like that. We never leave them in the retract position. Some pilots will put them to extended. Some pilots will put them to extended position and then turn them on once they clear for takeoff. I don't personally. I can't be bothered with that. I don't think it makes any difference. I don't think it's a very good reminder. But yeah, that's what some pilots do with that. But that's not a feature as such. It's just something people do with it. Yeah, I don't mean to be streaming at the higher FPS, it's just the problem I've got here. Robert, good to see you. Glad you enjoyed it. Thanks for coming along. Right, that is pretty bad stuttering. Just give me 1 second. No, sadly, there's not a lot I can do about that. Yeah, until we restart the sim. Robert says, I've learned so much from your vids. Thanks. You, my friend. Cheers. You're very welcome. Matt Pike asked, is this Active Sky? No, this is default X-Plane 12. Anyway, we are well through 10,000 feet, so we can let the passengers go. Engine anti-icing go off. And yeah, let's turn off those lovely lights. We'll go to airports. I'm just going to put flight plan on this side. And how's our fuel doing? 1 ton burn, 6 plus 1, 7 tons. That's what we're left with. That's looking good. Good stuff. Here's where X-Plane hasn't loaded the next sort of tile, but that should sort out soon. Not a long flight, but terrible winds going west in Europe at the moment. They have really strong. Yeah, Hayden says everyone is annoyed by the dark cockpit thing. What a nightmare. X-Plane bugbear. Yeah, agreed. It's frustrating me still because this is a really nice flight deck. They've done a great job. They've worked really hard on it. A real shame that that's what people will see. Full Prawns, thank you so much for the $40 tip. Really, really kind. I really appreciate it. Full Prawns, there's so much great content, great podcast. Many thanks. That's so kind of you. Thank you so much for your support of the channel, Four Prawns. Really appreciate it. Glad you're enjoying the podcast. And thank you so much for supporting the channel so much. That's far too generous. So kind of you. Thank you very, very much. Really appreciate it. And yeah, more podcasts will come. Like I say, aiming for once every couple of weeks at the moment, every 2 weeks-ish. Not a strict schedule, but I'm hoping that'll be achievable. I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver on that. So that's the current sort of aim. So yeah, I'm glad you're all enjoying it. Like I say, it's on Spotify. You can also, if you want to listen somewhere else, you can just go to the RSS feed, and you can copy and paste the RSS feed into any podcast. I think you can even do it with the Apple one, and it will play it for you. It's just not hosted directly onto them. The reason is you need so many verification steps to get Apple to accept your podcast, and it's not been as easy as I hoped to get that done. So for now, it's just on Spotify. Someone did ask, is it sponsored by Spotify? I'm afraid not. It certainly isn't. Would be nice, but it's not. I'm not at that level with my podcast. But there we go. But yeah, thank you again to Four Prawns. Really appreciate it. And I'm so sorry again to Dara for missing a message, but thank you as well. Okay, I've just sorry about that. I've just been trying to cap the frame rate, but it's not going to work until I restart X-Plane, sadly. Duncan says, I'm loving the podcast and also really enjoying the stream on my new 75-inch TV. 75 inches TV, that is quite impressive. Excellent. Enjoy that. Why did I see that? I thought I did those. There we go. Yaroslav says, why don't ToLiss planes start rocking around when flying a level segment near cruise altitude? Can be seen right now. That's just the wind, I think. 80 knot headwind. I'd expect it to be a bit turbulent. I don't think there's any. This doesn't feel unusual to me or problematic. And when we go through a cloud layer, I'd expect it to rock and roll a little bit. Thomas is asking about the seismic principles. See, there's not really much, but you can. There's a priority button to take over from the other side if you need it. Can you turn on the floodlight? We can do the dome light. It does work, but as you can see in the daylight, it doesn't really have much effect. And as we've been discussing, the older X-Plane is just too dim, and they need to fix this. It's letting everything else down now, and by quite a lot, because everything else is so good. Look at this, really nice. Again, this isn't all about the visuals. This is a detailed Airbus simulation with a lot of power behind it, and that's really what it's about. But as they put the effort in, it would be nice to see it all. Yaroslav says, rocking does get a bit excessive sometimes, in my opinion. Let's see then. Yeah, we'll have a look. We'll keep an eye out for that. Fair enough. There we go. Up above the clouds. Calidor says, shows up on Google Podcast. Subscribe. Excellent, Calidor. Thank you so much. Robert found on Spotify following. Thanks very much, Robert. The pod is available in the Pocket Cast catalogue. Okay, interesting. Must be showing up places I don't know then. TCAS, auto TCAS. I believe this... Well, the Neos would have auto TCAS. Whether this one has that simulation, I don't actually know. Let's have a look. Can't see anyone on there at the moment. But I think you have to put this to on. Yeah, there we go. So we shall see if we get too close to somebody. By the way, maximum level 385, 38. Pretty tight. If it's smooth, I'd do it. Let's see what happens. We'll just put ENCN in there. 335 miles. It's not a long flight today, but that headwind is making it a bit longer than it would otherwise be. Bang would like to see the VR update. Yeah. Four Prawns also likes X-Plane 12 in VR. There you go. I don't use VR so much just because it doesn't work for streaming at all, really. Does this light work? No. Captain was asked because the first officer popped in here. The first officer is here, snoozing. Yeah, she's been not putting much effort into today's flight, have you? But she's curled up as a donut. And there's a yawn. To prove how stressful her afternoon has been. These lights, yeah? These lights... Oh, you mean the panel lights, yeah. Yeah, see, they're all on light maximum. That's the armrest. Doesn't show up at all. This is the problem, right? So if the panel was this dark, and you know, if you're in the right conditions, you know, it could be quite dark and gloomy in the flight deck, but if it was, these lights would light it up. What this is proving is that X-Plane thinks it's super bright in here. It just isn't managing to show it. Brianni says, not those videos. I came back to do something you love. You can officially call me student pilot. One whole flight hour. I'd love to show you the video. Took off and made me land it. Fantastic, Brianni. Excellent. Well done. It's amazing all the different adventures people have been on since we started the channel. There we go, 1184. Thanks for the follow.
Okej, ja, du hade ju inte klarering in i kontrollzonen, men nu har du klart inflygning i högervarv, bana 17 och anmäld final. Klar inflygning bana 17 och anmäld final, Sigurd drivmål. And was it Speedbird 793 ready for departure?
Thanks, Jamie, for the subscription.
Negative, but as it happens, Speedbird 793 is fully ready now, runway 21. Speedbird 793, wind 160 degrees, 5 knots, runway 21, cleared for takeoff. Cleared for takeoff, Speedbird 793. 7857,
Busy controller.
flight level 360.
Control, good evening, Manta 331, directed to Romeo Oscar Echo, climbing flight level 380.
K2 at the same time, Scandinavian 488, you're identified, climb flight level 290.
Always the other traffic gets heard first.
Control, good evening, Carpolian to 6, review flight level 370 inbound Roma.
Yes, I have managed to record in VR before using Oculus Mirror or Window, whatever it is, but it doesn't make for great footage for long-term viewing. Just it's quite juddery, of course, by the nature of VR and low resolution. Wasn't very good on the phone screen, I don't think.
Scandinavian 2272 is ready for departure. Scandinavian 2272, I'll call you back. There was a VFR traffic entering the control zone without clearance.
Dear.
Yeah, I have one of my tickets looking out to the center. That doesn't help.
Control, good evening, Manta 331, climbing flight level 380 to Romeo Oscar Echo. Not having much luck here.
Station calling him on the Romeo Oscar Echo, say again your call sign.
Manta 331, climbing flight level 380 to Romeo Oscar Echo. Ed, good evening.
Mike X-Zulu 331, Sweden, identified. Confirm requested level again.
Requesting flight level 380, Manta 331.
Mike X-Zulu 331, Roger, climb flight level 380, and you are clear direct to Alpha Lima.
Thank you, climb flight level 380. Direct to Alpha Lima. Manta 331. 380 we got. Alpha Lima. That's a lot of our flight chopped off. Okay.
Scandinavian 488, leaving my airspace, frequency changes approved.
Terrain on ND still not ready. No, it does crop quite easily until it loads the next sector. That is a thing. Ed, I hope you're doing well. Good to see you here. Bunker asks, does it feel better quality texturing than the 19 or 21? Yes. It's no doubt. This is definitely the best ToLiss. And I really hope they bring this stuff to their 340, 19 and 21. This is good stuff. Good stuff. And of course they could put this into the 19 and 21 very easily. The 340 might be a little bit different.
Hotel, runway 34, clear to land, wind variable 2 knots.
And it says you should shout in the frequency, then they'll hear you first. Well, one trick is to... I shouldn't say this, but if your transmission's longer and you're the last one talking, and you somehow get your call sign into the later bit, then you've probably got a better chance. However, you'd have to know you're double transmitting, and you shouldn't transmit if you know you're double transmitting. You know. Bang says, I hardly ever play without VR these days, it's just too amazing. Yeah, VR is amazing. Yeah, fair enough. Could you fly the Zebo soon, please? Also Concorde, asked Daniel B. Yeah, I should fly the Zebo again, it's been a long time. I'd love to fly Concorde again. I should aim to do that. Gaza says, running Microsoft Flight Simulator on Xbox. Nearly gave up until I found your tutorials. I've logged 60 flight hours now and I'm happily recognising a wonderful new hobby. Keep up the good work, Captain. Gaza, you're really, really kind. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Good to hear that I didn't know that my videos would work for the Xbox users, so I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, glad to hear they're useful. Zazam, enjoy your flight. Thanks for coming along. Brownie says, because of you I wanted Airbus instead of Boeing. My friends fly Boeing. You're upset to tell you the least.
Nordic 36 Tango, you on frequency?
Yeah. Yeah, nothing wrong with Boeings. Love the Airbus. George says, slightly random question. When looking at an approach with an MDA opposed to a DA, what do you add in addition to that for an A320 so as to allow a buffer for a go-around before reaching MDA? You don't. Depends on the airline. but these days you don't. It does depend on the airline, but yeah, adding to an MDA isn't always required. If you do, sometimes it's 30 feet, but it's just an airline thing.
Easy 32 November X-ray with you passing flight level 315 for flight level 360 CPDLC. Easy 32 November X-ray, Sweden identified climb flight level 360. Flight level 360.
Long old climb now. We're going to get right up into that coughing corner here.
Whiskey leveling off perfectly well at flight level 100 PTF. Action 685 Whiskey, Sweden identified flight level 280. 280, 685 Whiskey.
Bunker says, can't wait for the A380 to come though. I think it's for Microsoft Flight Simulator, but I just want to see a different Airbus cockpit. Yeah, that's what's fun about it. Zamzam says, gotta go to the briefing room. Enjoy.
Mike X-ray Zulu 999, are you clear direct Alpha Lima? 999, clear direct Alpha Lima, thank you. Swedish Skyline 506, we are at flight level 120 for 110 west of Tietus by 35 nautical mile diverting to Sturup. Was that Scandinavian 506?
I never get weather information here now. I don't know why. But we can tell westerly wind is very likely to be 2-1.
Roger, call you back.
Last 1,000 feet to go. We'll level off and then I'll have a look at that. Recommended max now, 387. There you go, it's taken us so long to get here that it's actually risen 200 feet in that time. Giant Axis, what are the highlights and lowlights of this aircraft so far? Great question. Visual model and the cockpit both improved. Look very nice. Look very nice. Performance is very good. The details are all there as you expect from a ToLiss, and it's only an improvement on the other ones. Low lights, like I say, a couple of texturing things on the exterior model I'd like to see just brought up to the level that the rest of the aircraft is. Like the flight deck is very good, so it'd be nice to see the and I know they are still working on it, so that's the only thing I can think of. And again, I'm not gonna, I don't want to criticize it. It's not really a low light. It's just a notable thing that, you know, I don't know, because from this angle it doesn't need this at all. It looks great. I think we've just been spoiled by some other sims, you know. Other highlight would be the sound design, very, very good, and I really can't stress enough how much better the flight deck looks. So the texturing and the artists on the flight deck do a fantastic job. I think the shape and everything is spot on. I particularly like the details in here, the de-icing details, swapping the aircraft, and we'll talk about the bus in just a moment. We've also seen the multifunctional lights, so the modelling team, texturing team, everyone's done a great job really. Because, you know, you can zoom right in on this view and it all looks great. It's only when I do that walk around thing, which no one does day to day. You can see it here though, I suppose. Some of these panels look very clean, don't they? Tricky balance to get right out of. I'm sure it's very hard. Goodness knows how you do that. Stevens says, looks like a beautiful aircraft. Yeah, it is. It's very good. I do fly the Neo in real life. I'm on X-Plane 12 normal stable. Avitab does not work for weather in X-Plane 12 as they did not open the API. ToLiss landing performance page does have to meet up. Thanks very much, Wild Rumble. Great tip. How does she handle? Good question. She's great, just like the other Airbuses. I can disconnect the autopilot now. Ooh, interestingly, it's a different command. Order thrust is the same. I'll have to work that one out. Interesting. But if I disconnect it and fly, it's great. And I've done a lot of low level flying with it since I got it, and it is, yeah, just as you'd expect. ToLiss knows how to do an Airbus. And it's spot on. We're going to look at the bus and maybe in the descent actually. I meant to do it in the climb, but we got distracted. Oh, I got distracted. Quoty Moose says hi there, just found you on Twitch, just wanted to say hi and follow. Thanks very much, Quoty Moose, really appreciate it. Thanks for joining us. Hakan says, in the Phoenix, crossing your path on the way to Copenhagen. Excellent, enjoy. I don't use Active Sky. I've never used a top flight, so I don't know what it's like. Sorry. James says, is it like this in the real world, busy ATC? Yes, this is very normal. Very normal. You can be sat there and it gets quite tiring when the control is that busy for long periods of time. In this part of the world, probably not. It tends to be a bit quieter. But yeah, you go through Maastricht and places, very busy. London, of course. Bunker says, I guess my flight factor is now redundant. But that's going to be a question of personal choice, yeah. We can eventually get there. Come on, a bit more. No excess thrust left now. I can go to Toga. You get nothing. 1%. It's amazing. Let's climb. Not even 1%. Changing the N1s. There, Giuseppe, there is wing flex on this. Yeah, there is wing flex. The wings don't flex much when you roll as much as when you pull G-force on it. Mac out cruise. There we go. Now, does the VLS rise with the speed brake now? Yes, it does. So yes, if you deploy the speed brake, that happens, and then they'll be very slow to retract at this altitude. Look how slowly they deploy. That's why if you have an overspeed, you have to be very careful, because it takes a while to get rid of the spoilers. Good. Flight dispatch says, is it a legal requirement to have CPDLC? Yes, it is now. I don't know if it's legal, but it is a requirement to have CPDLC of some variety, indeed. Johan says, London is also stressful on VATSIM, always busy, always nice to get home to Copenhagen, FR, where things are required. Yeah, absolutely. It can be nice to get to these quieter areas. How are we doing on distance? Going down 120 miles. Let's have a look at our arrival, see what I put in and how daft it was or wasn't. So, first of all, let's have a look at the flight plan. Right, so SVA was the completely wrong via point, so let's change that round. Let's do one. What's our arrival? Amsterdam. INSAP. That's more like it. Good stuff. And we can just go to AMSEV, in we go. Round INSAP, 3,000 feet, clearance limit, and then we'll take the approach. ILS21. INSAP, round in, 212. Pretty normal sort of approach. Slightly steeper though, 3.5 degrees on this side. Heading out to the runway. No particular terrain issues. ILS is 7.9 miles based on the Kilo Juliet, so it is it an ILS? It is an ILS DME, that's good news. 109, 3,100 MSA. Missed approach straight ahead to 1,000, intercept and proceed on the 036 SVA inbound to the VOR. Enter and hold. So that'll take you off straight ahead to that VOR. Let's just get the airport chart up. There it is, 2,000 metre runway with an inset threshold gives us a landing distance available of landing middle threshold of just 1870 metres on 2-1. So, medium auto brake, and I'll be going max reverse just in case there's some sort of degradation on that.
Scanner 2051, correct. Are you ready for startup? I think so.
Good stuff. Yeah, there's a de-icing bay area, which they certainly in a place like Kristiansand they would need. This is a very beautiful airport and a beautiful part of the world. But as you can see here, moderate wind shear may occur on final to 2-1 in sector 270. Let's see the ToLiss weather. Destination 14012, 4,100 meters in light snow, broken 600, 1 degree. So that, there you go. It's loaded the weather in there. Runway condition. Let's put /, anti-ice engine. We're currently 67.6, so let's just drop that to 66 tons. Flat full, air conditioning on, no VAP, brake mode, medium, reversers on. Oh, we do have some margin. Okay, that's good, even if it snowed. That's lucky because we have a bit of a headwind here. Thanks, Dom, for the follow. So, yeah. Landing distance 1356, factored 1500. So, medium max reverse, that's what we're going to need. Interestingly, if we turn off reverse, I would expect it to make a big difference. Doesn't seem to have. Where do we put /? I think this might be... Yeah, it needs medium in any case then. Okay. Reverse on a contaminated runway does make a difference. I'm a little surprised about that. Curious about that. But there we go. Yeah, 137. So, let's put in 14012, 1 degree, 998.
Enter 86 to Sweden, good evening. You're cleared to Le Bourget via the... no, sorry, you're cleared to Toulouse. I'm reading the code wrong here. Cleared to Toulouse
And
via Laban
minimum.
for Juliet departures, squawk 1207. Information whiskey is valid.
Yeah, that's 251. Now it's a steeper approach, but it's just obviously flat full today, that short runway. Can't be full for landing. Let's approach altitude. 3000.
Is correct, runway 21, yes.
Correct.
One says X-Plane 12 becomes very slippery in snow ice. Oh, let's hope it's not too bad when we get there. Now, in real life, we don't hope, we know. So, you're going to have pilot reports, you'll have a friction report, you'll know the actual weather, and then we can calculate it all, and we do it all in worst case. We're going to go medium water brake, max reverse. I will pause the sim if it looks like it's not working, because you simply wouldn't be in that situation in real life. So we shall see. We shall see. Tray table is functional. Window as well. Lines are not. Or the sunshade. Not that I've been able to find anyway. Doesn't look very wintry up here. Again, nothing's going to top Microsoft Flight Simulator's snow and weather engine. That is incredible. But like I say, ToLiss have done so many good improvements on their add-ons over the years, and this is like the complete arrival of all of those into one. You know, now the VLS does move and so on. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. And they have modelled the engine anti-ice taken away from your N1, so... Well, actually have they? Let me have a look. We'll try it out in the descent. We'll try it and see. Because when you add anti-ice, it should take away a little bit from the N1. So, Norbert, good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining us.
EC32 November X-ray from Sweden. Nordic 36 Tango from Sweden.
Nordic 36 Tango, go ahead.
Your climb will depend on traffic behind you. I need to lock him on speed, but he's not replying at the moment.
Roger, 36 Tango.
Oh, is that us?
EC32 November X-ray from Sweden.
Oh no, that's good.
EC32 November X-ray, sorry about that, go ahead.
EC32 November X-ray, report your Mach number.
Kirby asks, what feels better? The ToLiss has always felt excellent. It feels great. And it always has. Crosswinds, everything, except that rotation. Phoenix is very good, and the A320X is now very good. So it's really hard to say definitively. To me, I think they're all good representations. But the ToLiss is really very good. The Phoenix goes through changes and evolutions, as does the A320X, whereas this has always just been a stable, feels just right. In terms of the sim, I've always said there are aircraft that feel amazing in Microsoft Flight Simulator, like the Phoenix, like the A320X. It does come down to the individual developer. I tend to find I haven't flown as many bad ones in X-Plane as I have Microsoft, but I don't think there's any limitation in the sim to make it that has to be the case. Part of it is the cameras and so on, you know. If you're in like the exterior view, lots of things feel strange in Microsoft Flight Simulator to me. Felix says, does it have a printer? Now, my understanding is it has some sort of a printer, but I haven't worked out.
At 506, wind 150 degrees, 6 knots, runway
I haven't played around with these menus enough to be able to tell you what it's doing.
Mike X3 Zulu 331, Sweden.
Go ahead, Mike X3 Zulu 331.
Mike X3 Zulu 331, you're about to leave my airspace, frequency change is approved, bye bye.
Thank you, frequency change approved. Manta 331, bye bye.
77 Charlie, you're also about to leave my airspace, frequency change is approved.
1228, there we go. Biani asks, do you think I can use Flight Sim as a tool to get better? There are things Flight Sim's good at and things it's not. So there's no reason you can't use it to, I think, aid with things, especially if you're doing instrument flying, scans, stuff like that. Practicing sort of drift holding patterns. If you're practicing sort of VFR navigation, you can use, if you get a good GA add-on, you know, and Just Flight have some of the best out there for Microsoft Flight Simulator, you can actually navigate around using the real towns and lakes and rivers, which is also good practice, and practice your correction and so on. In terms of pure handling and so on, it can help you remind yourself of flows and things. And it's armchair flying, as it's called, is a useful tool in aviation. And armchair flying doesn't necessarily mean using a sim, it just means using you can just sit in an armchair and think through it, as it were, visualize what you're doing, and that's proven to be very effective. So there's absolutely no reason a sim can't help, but you've got to be careful with its limitations, and certainly don't take anything the sim tells you as fact. You know, it's what your instructor tells you in your pilot operator's handbook. You know, these are the facts. The sims will have variations and so on all over the place, and there are just some things that would just be wrong, you know. Bung says, I've used the JAR, Flight Factor and ToLiss, and the ToLiss is the only one I still use. There you go. ToLiss is super stuff. It is super stuff. CW2605 asks, what's the difference between Cat 3 single and dual? Cat 3 single and dual are just different variations on an auto land in low weather. So you need Cat 3 dual to be doing Cat 3B approaches. Cat 3A, you can use Cat 3 single, although they've actually changed the terms for all this stuff recently. But yeah. So single and dual, it's to do with the number of autopilots. You can have Cat 3 single in more conditions with some failures, whereas Cat 3 dual, you know, it needs a lot of the systems to be working. So how are we doing? Yeah, not long now. 40 miles to our descent. Put it back to constraint. I'm going to let the Airbus do a managed descent today. See how the ToLiss handles it. But once we're on the way down, what we will do is try out the bus. That is important. Wild Woman, enjoy your dinner. Thanks for coming along. DG says 38,000 feet high for a short flight. Is that normal? Yeah, this is normal. Yeah, this has been quite a good cruise time. So yeah, 38,000, no problem at all. We don't, unless it's seriously short, like 40 minutes, we don't tend to limit the cruise altitude because you might as well go up just to come down again. The airplanes, the more time you spend in those upper levels, the more efficient it is. The only reason you wouldn't bother is if you're going to be ploughing through different airspaces and so on. Well, she says, do the flaps vibrate on this upon landing taxi? No, I don't think they do, but we'll have a look. We'll have a look on the replay. Brianni's flying the Diamond D40. Fantastic, lovely machine. Like you said, instrument and talking to HC on that sim since I'm nervous for my first radio call. Yes. Yes, I was nervous for my first radio call. You'll soon get used to it, but yes, it's normal to be nervous for that one. Just because it's the sense of broadcasting and everyone else seems to know what they're doing. But yeah, you'll have no trouble, I'm sure.
Manchester 999, back at frequency, flight level 380.
Swazi says, do you have an issue with the Phoenix where you fall out of the sky on final? I haven't seen that issue, but I haven't flown it for a little while. Yeah, learning the layout, it's good for that, but do watch out, some switches might be in a slightly different position. It is possible. Critic says ToLiss add-ons should be available on Steam Marketplace. Yes, that would be a good place for them. Yeah, I think so. Lauren Reed says flights from Buffalo to New York City tend to be a bit longer and get capped low because we have to loop them through Boston airspace, for example. Yes, there you go. Airspace more likely to be the restriction. Yeah. But if it's totally clear air, there's no reason not to go up and just come straight back down again. Bunker asks, is it standard procedure to have terrain radar on during cruise? And I think I read somewhere it depends which system is installed. One doesn't show all the time. So, yes. Either you're going to have terrain or you're going to have weather radar. Now, do you have to? I don't think so, particularly. The terrain will pop up. If you're about to hit terrain and you get a GPWS, it will pop up on the ND. It will depend on the airline whether it's procedure to have it or not. I would always have one or the other, because why not? There's no point flying along like this with it just blank. If the weather's good or it's daylight and you can see all the weather, then I'm not going to worry about the radar. Now, I would have a radar on in this situation today, one of the sides, for the simple reason, there we go, that we don't know what's beneath this and we're going to descend through it. If you can see through it, then it's not an issue. But if you can't, then yeah, obviously it's worth having a radar on so you have an idea of what's coming. A Grid Neck says, while back I talked to a guy who trains Aer Lingus cadets and did check rides in Cork, and one of the main points he would always remark for the PPL check ride was to always look around. Is this true? So yes, in VFR flying, like a PPL check ride, it's all about the lookout. You are not in controlled airspace, you're in VFR conditions, flying in probably uncontrolled airspace a lot of the time. Probably spending a lot of your time avoiding controlled airspace, especially in the UK and Ireland and busy places. So the point of that is any planes can be anywhere, and you have to look out for each other. You do try and talk to air traffic controllers and get information on where each other are, but they can only do so much. Here I'm in Class A controlled airspace, so I'm being directed by the controllers. They are going to tell me where other traffic is, and they're going to separate me from the other traffic. I've also got TCAS. Those are two things you don't have flying around if you're in general aviation on your PPL check ride. Hello. Can you join us again? Come on. Where are you? There you are. Hello. What's the problem? There we go. And the first officer's back, just like that. Yeah, so that's why lookout is so vital. Before any manoeuvre, you're looking out, and you know you're never heads in general aviation when flying VFR like that. You're scanning between everything all the time. But in airliners, it's a different sort of setup. We do keep an eye out, but we could be flying around in cloud the whole time, you know. We wouldn't see them anyway, so we use different systems for that. The other thing with general aviation is, of course, all the general aviation airplanes have to squeeze into the bits of airspace that aren't controlled, so they tend to all be in the same areas doing the same things, especially if there's sort of a gap between two controlled airspaces, like a squeeze point. Then you'll get loads and loads of airplanes all trying to go through it, and they can all be pointing right at each other, going in the opposite directions. It's terrifying. Again, that's general aviation. That is not commercial flying. Yeah, she's making a lot of noise today. Lonry says, controlled a bunch of VFR traffic through Class E airspace, which in the US is controlled, but VFR don't have to talk to anyone. Lots of traffic advisories, then some basic VFR sequencing near the airport itself, which is Class D, wedged between another Class D and Class B. Yeah, it's amazing, all the differences. Airline pilots are very out of touch with that stuff, unless they fly general aviation as well, because we just don't see it. We just stay in very specific sets of airspace the whole time, which is a good thing. That's, you know, that's what makes it, part of what makes it so safe. Right, descent point incoming. First officer's trying to get comfortable. You right now? Spins. She's not really settling down. Don't know why. Right, down we go. 100s. Now I'm going to put it into DES. DES at Blue 100. It should start down at 1,000 feet per minute-ish and then intercept that glide path. There it is. Okay, let's put the train back on, as I was saying so. I like it just for situational awareness. It seems silly not to have it up. traffic in front, our colleague. Or potentially in the overspeed range here. Speed brake out. See it pitching up to try and maintain that. First officer's spinning around again. What's going on? Just not comfy today, are you? Surprised how far wrong it is. And we got a headwind, so if anything, it should have got easier. Brandy says, do you remember your first ever landing? It felt so weird not knowing exactly where you are in time and space, just about to touch down. I landed with the stall warning on final. I don't remember my first ever generation. I remember my first airliner landing. Great fun though, all of them great fun. In little aeroplanes, you can end up with a stall warner in the flare. You don't want it on final, definitely not. But if you end up with a little bit of stall warner whilst you're actually a foot off the runway, you know, that's quite normal. Back on profile, speed rate's coming away, depending on the aeroplane, of course. Yeah, just above the ground, exactly. Yeah. And she's spun around again. So we're coming down pretty fast. We're catching up with our colleague, as ever. Although they're climbing, in fact. And they're above us, so that's not our colleague. That's someone going the other way. Speaking of traffic. There we go. DLH. This is Lufthansa going the other way. Now these clouds look fantastic. This is great. So we're going to look at the bus in a moment. Done the sounds. Some of the textures, de-icing. Cool. So bus. What's bus? Why do I keep talking about bus? Bus is the backup speed scale. It's used if the aircraft has unreliable airspeed indications. What it does is it allows us to fly the airplane safely, even if we can't tell our exact airspeed. Older aircraft don't have a bus system, but it doesn't have to be a Neo to have a bus. The bus has also been replaced by a digital bus now, but that's not what's modelled here. So this is the bus in between. There's two versions of this bus as well, just to show you how complicated Airbuses are and how many there are. There's the reversible bus and the non-reversible. Now I've got the reversible bus here because I've selected to have the switch. What the bus is it shows you effectively a fast, slow and target speed range, regardless of the actual airspeed indication. Let's say our airspeed port got blocked and we figured out that it was unreliable. Now that's a whole video on its own as to how you might spot that and the implications of it. But let's just say that's what's happened. We've decided we have unreliable airspeed. So we're going to put the backup speed scale on. Press this button here, and here you go. It gives us this indication. And you can see it actually thinks we're pretty fast. This indication is based on angle of attack. Remember, fighter jets fly on... I shouldn't do it on my side really, we're messing things up. But fighter pilots fly on angle of attack quite a lot because the airplane will only stall based on the angle of attack. It's not actually the airspeed. It's also the angle the air hits the wing. So what that system does is you say, okay, this airspeed is unreliable, I don't trust it anymore. I turn that on, it will give me an area to fly, i.e. into the green band, and it shows when I'm fast and it will show us when I'm slow. The stall warner on the Airbus, just to show you how important angle of attack is not based on the airspeed. It won't tell you stall just because you've got a low airspeed. It will actually base the stall on your angle of attack. All of this leads me to something that I'd like to see ToLiss add, and I hope they do, which is I'd like the model of the angle of attack indicators. They've done such a great job with the bus. I think it'd be really good if they could put it on to the exterior of the model as well. I hope they can. I remember in FSX you could get ones that actually moved with the angle as well. Very cool. I like the pilots wearing their hats. But yeah. So that is what we are talking about here. So it's very clever. Like I say, older aircraft don't have it. On older aircraft, you're just sort of stuck with pitch and power until you can identify if any of the speeds are working. Now you wouldn't even go to this unless you knew. You wouldn't just revert to it straight away. You'd figure out if any of the airspeeds are usable. But if you can't tell, you have this option. The GPS now replaces the altitude, so it says GPS out. Now this is slightly different from the barometric, not just because of the pressure differences, but also because this one will not quite, it doesn't quite take into account variations in the Earth and so on, so the shape of the planet as well. Andy, see you next time. Thanks so much for coming along, really appreciate it. And yeah, sorry, talk about buses. So you can see it there, amber lines through the 10s because it's not, they're not very accurate. It's the graded indication. Now, to configure the airplane, you get to the, let's say we want to put flaps out. I would slow right down to this area, put the flap out, slow down again, put the flap out. Because if I put flaps out now, we'll just be overspeeding them. And it does take into account the flap changes. So it would, as you put the slats out, for example, this whole range will move down and you'll appear to be going faster. Also, funnily enough, if we take out the autopilot, something very important with the bus is you have to check that it is working. If it needs to respond to longitudinal input. So if I pitch, we should expect to see the bus change with us. Now, I don't have much experience using the bus in real life, thankfully. That's a little bit extreme. Yeah, that's probably overreacting to the turbulence. But in the real aircraft, I would expect as you squeeze back on the side stick like that, you'd expect to see this target move, or your current speed, which is this amber line, to actually move down a little bit, and vice versa, just because it's based purely on AOA. There we go, AP1. So that's what this is. I'm planning to do a video on it. I've also done a little intro video to the ToLiss as a sort of preview build, where I show it as well in a bit more detail. But I'd like to do a full video with it where we try and fly an approach with it, because it can fly an approach. That green diamond becomes the target speed on approach. You land flap 3. It's unlikely to be sitting here like this, where you see we're in normal law and so on, which is slightly artificial. You'd probably be in a degraded airplane by the time you're using this alternate law. Now, if you don't have the switch, you can turn it on by turning off all 3 ADRs. But again, a very serious thing to do, and something you'd only do once you've decided that none of them are worth using. And then it would bring it up. But that's not reversible. That is, you're stuck with that then. Well, actually, see you next time. Thanks for coming along. Anyway, a great detail, a great piece of systems modelling for them to include. I like it a lot. And they're reversible, non-reversible ones and so on are correct. Now the digital bus that I mentioned, so original bus, you didn't have a button, you just turned off the ADRs. Now you've got digital bus, which you can, now you've got reversible bus, which we can do this with. And then you've got the digital one. The digital one won't show you this green and red thing. This is already outdated. What they've got now is it will show you the airspeed, and it's accurate to within something like 15 knots, based on angle of attack and slats flaps. It's really remarkable stuff, very clever. Really comes down to the principles of flying, where the angle of attack is more important. There you go, gone slow now with all my fiddling rounds. But yeah, that's not modelled here. Digital bus is not what we've got here. Critic says, if we're descending at selected VS, will the speed only reduce after reaching the outs? Versus in open descent, it will first slow to speed. If we set lower speed, pausing des, and then... if you selected the VS and you descend in vertical speed mode, you're overriding everything. So I'm telling it to fly vertical speed. So it will now fly 1600 feet per minute. It will use the auto thrust to get to that speed. If I tell it to descend at 6000 feet per minute, it will try and do that as well. VS is what's overriding here. The engines and auto thrust will try. It will go to idle, but it won't matter because the airplane will try and get to 6000 feet per minute. It's not going to manage, and what you'll see is it will actually revert and triple click at us, and it will go an amber box around the VS. We should see that in a moment. There you go. So what the real aircraft will do is put an amber box, there you go, and it will raise the nose and not actually do it. But there's that star anyway. He says, I feel like... Oh! Overspeeding there. Now that's... What's happened there is... Firstly, I was reading the chat. What's caused that is, of course, you saw that high vertical speed we're in, which is a totally non-normal thing to do. But by being in such a high speed, vertical speed, the aircraft went into outstart early. In outstart, it locks in the vertical speed it's at. So what it did was it locked in high vertical speed, and then it tries to form sort of a smooth transition into level. The result was it kept a higher vertical speeds for too long, and I needed the speed brakes to stop it, which we didn't have AP1 because I was reading the chat. There you go. Interesting stuff. Again, well modelled by ToLiss. 4 tons now. we're below profile, so we'll just sit here for a little bit and then carry on with the descent. It'll be above 100. Above 100 here actually anyway, so let's stay here, get past Agdes, and then carry on down. Yes, that's right. So Brianna says, I feel like the dad of the community. We talk about so much more than flying. Felt such a proud moment with your voice in my thought. You're such a positive person. Thanks so much, Brianna. Really very kind. Really appreciate it. Now, you can see the weather radar's on over here, and we're just not really getting anything. Yeah, it's a shame. Right, slowing down now, 250. Getting a real battering. Engine to ice. I will find a good moment to test that. Tobas says, I'm going to start a flight school not far away from Kristiansand in August. Fantastic. Enjoy, Tobas. Excellent. Glad to hear it. So many upcoming pilots on the channel. Fantastic to hear. Right, there's Agdes. Getting back in on the profile. I'm just going to put it down to the platform altitude. Oh. 3,000 feet. Let's let the Airbus do its thing. Thrust idle Des. Severe ice detected. Look at that. Wing anti-ice on. Engine start select ignition. So, it's interesting. Wing anti-ice on. We have to put the start select to ignition. This is correctly modelled, by the way, because the Neos do not automatically put ignition on when you do engine anti-ice. The older aircraft did. I don't know why they changed that. I don't feel like ignition was wearing out components much, but maybe it was. So there we go. Let's put in the QNH. Something you have to remember if you swap between them. 998. There. Out, we're down to 4,000. So it thinks it's going to have to level off at 4,000 feet for a little bit. Which it will do there actually. We're going to hit 4,000 really early and then it will go down to 3. That's fine. Just let it do its thing. The flickering lights was just the weather there, yeah. Can't use the wipers at 250 knots, they're limited to 230. Here we go, arriving on our charts. You hear those engines spooling up and down. No visual representation of ice as far as I'm aware. Says your ignition is still on. Indeed, we just turned it on for the ice warning we got. Jay, thanks for the follow. And Matt Brown and Jack, thanks for the subscriptions. Now, if we are experiencing severe icing, I'm going to leave that ignition on for a little bit longer. 6CFO says, good morning from Melbourne. Just tuned in while waiting for my flight to Sydney. Fantastic. Thanks for joining us, 6CFO. I hope you're doing well. It must be very late there or very early morning. No, it's early morning, isn't it? Apologies about that. Right. So, interesting situation now. We are in nasty weather here. This is not very pleasant. This is turbulent. Passengers would really be feeling this. Let's see if those wings are bouncing around. Yeah, there you go. You can see them flexing a bit now. Thanks to the controller for the follow. Smooth that now. So, I would like the speed to be about here, so this is a good place for it to be. And we're going to head downwind here. Let's run the approach checklist. Briefing's confirmed. Decam status is checked. Seatbelts should really be on with that turbulence. Barrier ref, we've put in our 250 and 998, and then we got the 251 as our MDA. Engine mode set is to ignition for now. And we know it's snow on the ground potentially. It's 2 degrees outside, but sorry, static of -5. It is cold. -5 at 4,000 feet. Yeah. We'll see. I'm really hoping X-Plane doesn't mess around with the friction on the runway. We shall find out. No price confirmed, Yaroslav, for the 320 Neo. The only thing I'll say is they said it would probably be, it will be in line with the other ToLiss products. No inside information on the A330, I'm afraid, Kritik. It's past 6 AM now. First time flying 737 in a long time. Been A320s for all the domestic flights so far. It's a 60FO. Ah, very good. Yeah, I went to Australia once and I think we flew 73s. All of the legs we did. Thanks, Alex and Arthur, for the follows. Here you go. Start to see some of that nice texturing hidden away in the gloomy lighting. So it will automatically now descend to 3,000 feet when it deems it appropriate. It's very clever. The only thing we will need to do is... Oh, it's activated the approach. No, it hasn't. There we go. Sorry, yeah, there we go. I was going to say previous. So we will need to activate it ourselves. Actually, no, it won't. There's the decel point. I'll let it do that itself as well. It should manage. We are going to have a tailwind on base leg though, which could make it a bit awkward. Francesco says, I'm surprised by how accurate both ToLiss and Phoenix are. If we're talking about learning complex liners simulation, I feel there's not a great difference between X-Plane 12 and Microsoft Flight Simulator. Yeah, fair point. Alex would like an outside view. Sadly, the weather's a bit rubbish for it today. It's very nice. Very complete, as with the ToLiss, and that's a big thing for flight sim. It's complete, it runs smoothly, it looks great. It's nice. It's very nice. You can take this and just go and do all the wacky things you can think of, all the RNAVs, and fiddle around with all the different new systems and lights and so on. It's good. Yeah, 320 family are all on the same rating, P260, so yeah, all on the same license. So there you go. It's now activated the approach phase automatically. We don't need to do anything there. We just need to remember to configure. Got to slow down to 230 for that, which we're already below. It does indeed come with CFM, Alex. You get both engines included. Let's go flap 1. Just to let it keep decelerating, getting the engines from spooling out. Yeah, Viper. Someone said earlier that it does have quite bad friction problems, so we shall see. We shall see. The ToLiss calculator thinks it's fine. I think that's a bit optimistic. 1356 meters is what I would expect it to be in perfect conditions. So I've put slash in. That should degrade the runway, and it doesn't seem to be having any notable impact. As you can see. Right, what we do need is put the ILS up. We are in GPS primary accuracy high. 2,800 feet, sensible down to 3,000. Radio altimeter should come alive about 2.5, and we've got 12 miles out at the moment, so we're about on profile. Let's just check the elevation. Yeah, 51 feet. Good. It is a steep approach, so I don't, or a slightly steeper approach, so I don't want to join it anything other than gear down flat 2. Or we could be flat 2, but slow on the speed, and then I can drop the gear once we start down. That would also work. Says, I imagine the lighting will be more tolerable in X-Plane 11. I'm still waiting to see if the release pans out. Yeah, it's frustrating, isn't it? It's so gloomy in here, and it wouldn't be. And it looks so good when the light's on it. It's a shame. Anyway, 2.5 at 3. So we must be over some terrain. That's not quite what I would expect. Let's see what happens. We can see the terrain around here on the radar. On the chart, there is this ridge here. From 3,000 feet, we expect to intercept at 7.9. So that number should increase again to about 2.5 as we get away from this terrain. Now I did a bad job there. Did that as an overfly. I should have armed the approach first, but no matter. I'm going to let it point back towards and then arm the approach. Okay, so there's lock blue. Good ice slope. Ice not detected message. Fancy aircraft to have that feature. Cat 3 single. Let's put the other one in. Cat 3 dual. So there you go. One autopilot will get you Cat 3 single, which is pretty impressive, frankly. There's lock star. There you go. Now 2,300 feet. Making sense. Cat 3 dual conditions. Not quite, because it wasn't on there. There's the meter. Light snow. 3,100 meters. It's just gloomy. And we said that few 200 could be an issue, but few doesn't count as a ceiling, so we shall see what we can see. If we need to go around, we have the fuel to do it. 3.7 tons. We go straight ahead to the SVA effectively. It's got nav in the go around. Flat 2. Gear down. Can use a bit of speed brake here. Glide slope star. Because I was chatting. Wow, that turbulence. Outrageous. And 3,000 white is now white in these newer fits, which is perfectly normal. It's rocking and rolling. There you go. You get the correct deflection on the speed brakes as well. Very good. Go to flat 3. Now this turbulence is outrageous.
Traffic, easy, November X-ray.
Speed brakes going away.
10-mile final for runway 21. We are slowing for traffic ahead. Easy, Kristiansand traffic.
That's full. Kristiansand traffic, Manta 331. We are on a 6-mile final ILS runway 21. Okay, that's good. Traffic behind. Arm the speed brakes. Bling on the cabin. Wing and ice off. We don't need it for now. Let's see. We've got VAP 137. VLS 132. That's about right. So ground speed minute is greatly reduced on the Neos, which is why the airspeed isn't up here somewhere. It's quite noticeable. I would have preferred it stayed the same as the older ones, but there we go. Anyway, landing checklist. We've got cabin secured. Auto thrust is in speed mode. Going altitude 3,000 feet. White set. AKMMO landing. No blue. Landing checks complete. The replay is working on its own, which is great. Auto land does work, but we're not going to use that today. Although we could actually. We could do an auto land. No, you wouldn't just swap to an auto land in these conditions. But if we do, we'll leave it at Cat 3 dual. I'll leave both autopilots in. I'll wait until it's by 350 rad out. I need it to say land. By 30 rad out, I need it to say flare. And then by nose wheel down, it should say roll out. I'm going to wait to idle the thrust levers until it specifically says. Oh, it's only Cat 1 runway. We're probably not going to do that. It's a bit mean to put it on a short runway auto land and then non auto landing runway. The only problem I've got here is my autopilot key doesn't work, so I'm going to have the red button in view and hover the mouse over it. Lights, good point. Let's get the lights on. Now, if its conditions are bad, you might be tempted. It is possible you'll leave the lights off so that the they don't glare, but it's very bright up there anyway, so it's not going to make any difference. 500 feet. Starting to see the ground. There's the vapor trails. Very cool. Nothing out the front though.
500.
Now, nothing to stop us doing this. Autopilot off.
300.
There we go. Visual with the ground. Glide set running away. Visual.
200. Minimum.
Awful conditions.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. Retard.
Idle.
10. 5.
Max reverse. Oof. $70 knots, reverse idle. Used up most of the runway doing that. Manual brakes, forward idle. Wow. Some of the worst conditions we've ever seen in the sim. Actually, no, we didn't use all the runway, but we have used up a fair bit. We're actually at the next inset threshold. Let's get ourselves moving for our colleague behind, so they can actually land. Get ourselves down to Alpha. That was something else. And you can see how, although you might... sorry. There goes James. Yeah, that was a really nice representation. And Kristiansand traffic, Manta 331. We are still on the runway, but very shortly vacating to the right. Now you don't want to go off the end of the runway now.
Traffic, ED32 November X-ray going around. Traffic.
Yeah, sorry guys. Sorry everyone. Yeah, there's not a lot we can...
No problem.
Not a lot we can do there. With the conditions as they were.
Kristiansand traffic, Nordic 36 Tango, ILS 214 miles.
Kristiansand traffic, Manta 331, runway now vacated, Kristiansand. Okay, so, yeah, awesome. So many things there. That was quite a visual picture. We were coming in quite steep, and then you get the glare of the sun. So at night that would have been a lot easier. At night, what you can do is we could leave the lights off, and all you'd have to do is wait to see the runway lights, because they'd pierce through that that gloom in the clouds much better. It's harder in the day. We'll leave those on. We'll put the flaps up. Now you need to make sure that the flaps, you wouldn't retract the flaps unless you knew that there wasn't any of the ice, because it's quite likely on an approach like that, ice could build up along the leading edge. These are horrid conditions, really nasty. And we had severe ice on the way in. So if that ice hadn't melted off, which it may not have, considering it's only 1 degree outside, if the ice hasn't melted off, then we would consider leaving the flaps out so engineers can come and get rid of it, because you don't want ice on the leading edge of the wing behind the slats, as it were. I.e., this is no problem, but behind that it could have built up. Yeah, the rain effects on the ground do look good. Are the wipers that loud in real life? Yes, top flight. They are deafening, and pilots will do anything to avoid using them. We don't like using them. They are very loud. In that case, what I would have done is asked the other pilot to select it for me on final, if you felt that it was going to be an issue. And it was certainly an issue with visibility there. Yeah, this is a good example of X-Plane 12's best features, really. And like I say, the ToLiss has handled this spectacularly well, as you would hope. Look at it, it just looks lovely. Puddle simulator. It is a good simulator for puddles, no doubt. Anyway, some things I should have done by now. Let's get the lights off for parking. Got the APU on. We've got the engine anti-ice on. That's absolutely fine. Let me run through the after landing. Oh, this checklist doesn't include that. What else would we do? Weather radar should go off. Predicted wind shear off. Weather radar off. Transponder to transponder. Lights are off. How are we on the wheels? 390. Yeah, pretty good brake temperatures. More good modelling by ToLiss there. That's about what you'd expect. Love the rain effects in X-Plane now as well. Bunker says you should get commission. I'm sold. Bring on the 20th.
Kristiansand traffic, Nordic 277 pushing and starting stand 14.
There goes the Nordic. Probably waiting for us. Yeah. That was something else, so I say something else. That's quite normal what we saw there, but I'm impressed with how well it was simulated just by circumstance. Horrible conditions, and yeah, when you land in those conditions, you just want to get on the touchdown zone and get the airplane stopped. You want to get an idea of that braking action as soon as you can. Right. Brake set. Wiper off. AP available. Engine anti-ice off. Shutting down. There's one traffic. I think I just heard another go around. Unless it's just them starting up. I think it's just them starting up. Ah, you can see the weather on here. That's cool. I didn't know that. So there's the easy. Come back in. Excellent. Sorry to James. Flight didn't end well for James. There we go. Right. Easy touching down shortly. Oh, strobe lights. It's always something. There you go. So, thank you all so much for coming along. And we're going to have the replay now. Captain Wazza says, love the bleak look of the weather. Yeah, it's quite something.
Pilots at Kristiansand, what was the breakout for the clouds?
Oh. It was just before minimums. It was something like 300 feet.
Okay, interesting. Great. Thanks very much. Easy 32 November X-ray.
No problem. Yeah, I hope it's the same in Microsoft Flight Simulator if that's what they're using. Fran says V1 simulated fire engine with the new ToLiss was quite impressive. Oh, I haven't had a look at that. Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Thanks for coming along, Brownie. Good to see you here. I hope you're doing well. Right, let's disconnect from VATSIM. Let's see if the Easy makes it down. There's Mountain 999. Change livery again. I definitely like these lights. I'd like to see these in real life. Well, thank you to everyone who flew along as well. Really enjoyed it. Critter says, can we see his landing? Let's see. Let's go have a look. Oh dear. Oh no. Oh no. Yeah. Now I'm going to assume that's a bug with my VATSIM connection. Could be to do with the pressure differences because it's a low QNH here. There we go. Easy's now down. Is this better than X-Plane 11 or not as stable? I think it's better.
Easy 32
No doubt.
X-ray is down. No pressure. Vacating shortly. Runway 21.
Excellent. Right. Thank you all for flying along. I'm going to disconnect from VATSIM. And let's go to the replay. So let's see how that went. It says that's getting a mental pilot. I can see the thumbnail already. Right, let's put it back to final. Yeah, it's the glare of the sun. It's great. Great simulation, this. Their lighting has come a long way. I do think it should look a bit more wintry than this, but there we go. Into the flare, bit of right rudder, down. And then it was max reverse, get on the brakes. Stopped really well. So clearly no issues, no degraded braking there. Which is perfectly plausible because, of course, in snow / conditions, it can just be melting depending on temperature on the ground. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have slippery. It could just be effectively wet. It can be snowing and your runway can still just be wet, you know. Let's just... I don't know. Oh, yeah, we need to do the good old X-Plane camera view. Mustn't forget about it. Now, we did get low. We definitely crossed the threshold low. You can see this is probably sort of 30 feet before we actually got to the numbers. So that there was a bit of sink at the end, getting a bit over the top with the visual picture. It's not helped by X-Plane's glide slope wobbling about. So here, you can see it. That glide slope just suddenly... That visual picture was terrible, wasn't it? Just drops away on us. And this is a known thing, and I shouldn't have reacted to it, but unfortunately I did, and I followed it down. Because if you're not visual at 100 above, you know, you are effectively still following that glide slope down to Cat 1 minima. And that's a bit frustrating, but that is a sim issue, and there's the same problem in Microsoft Flight Simulator. The glide slopes tend to do a little wobble on final. They don't in real life. They are very good at this stage. Very sensitive, but very good. So you could manually fly down, and that glide slope would have not done this sort of dip. Because the problem with this dip is I react to it because I've got no other visual cues out the window. Normally I'd ignore it, but yeah, and then now our sync rate's high, and now I need to get back into the flare. But by now I'm visual, so I just sort of steady out the approach. Probably could have, yeah, softened it in a bit earlier.
30, 20, retard, 10, 5.
Brilliant.
Retard, 50.
Oh, last camera view. Sorry, everyone. Last camera view. It's such a treat to have replays. I want to exploit them. There we go. Yes, look at that. Love these lights. Very sleek. Getting that right rudder in. Touchdown. Now, it's quite possible to get very smooth feeling landings with nice wet runways like this. Now, this is always difficult to do. Can I get it right? So far, the answer is no. Come on, we can do this. What am I doing? You all know what I'm trying to do, right? We're going to walk the camera. There we go. Get a bit of momentum. Just popping out the gloom. You can use the wipers below 230 knots. 230 knots is the limit on those. Love the replay. Such a good replay tool. Everything works. Look at that. Love it. Ah, so great to have that tool. Right. Let's put ourselves somewhere sensible on approach. And remember, with the ToLiss, you could, of course, just save it. You could save the position on final and just do that landing over and over again. It's amazing. Amazing. Now, I'm going to put this at sort of 1500. Let's do something like that. Good. Which wing view do we want? That one or that one? I think we'll go that one today. So all that's left to say is thank you all so much for coming along today. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you for those incredibly kind donations, and thank you to those of you who flew along. Thank you to the moderators for looking after us. Do please check out the podcast. Like I say, Spotify 320 Sim Pilot from Flight Level 320 is the name of the podcast. There's 2 episodes out, yeah, it's a good bit of fun, and more of those to come. I've got a video coming on this. I know you've all seen it on the stream, but for other people, there'll be a video released soon. And yeah, I will look forward to seeing you all in another video or live stream soon enough. Do please keep safe and well. Thank you all so much for chatting, watching, like I say, moderating, donating. Really appreciate it. And I will leave you with the outro music. Keep safe and well. Bye-bye.